Your bank account is lying to you right now. What if wealth isn't something you earn, but something you tune into? Most people spend decades chasing money they already have access to. There's a frequency, a vibration, a quantum field of abundance. Why do some people magnetize wealth while others repel it? Your wallet isn't empty. Your receiver is offline. In the next hour, you'll learn to flip the switch. Right now, as you're listening to these words, trillions of dollars are moving through the quantum field around you. This isn't metaphor. This isn't wishful thinking. This is documented quantum physics applied to the reality of wealth. The money you've been desperately seeking has been seeking you with equal intensity. But there's a problem. You've been broadcasting the wrong signal. You've been operating on a frequency that repels abundance like a magnet flipped the wrong direction. Think about your last interaction with your bank balance. What happened in your body when you saw those numbers? Did your stomach tighten? Did your breathing shift? Did a wave of anxiety wash through your chest? That physical response wasn't just an emotion, it was a transmission. You sent out a quantum signal that said there isn't enough. I am lacking. I am separate from wealth. And the universe, being the perfect mirror it is, reflected that signal right back to you. The game has been rigged, but not in the way you think. Nobody is keeping money from you. No external force is blocking your abundance. The conspiracy isn't out there. It's in here. It's in the neural pathways carved into your brain from childhood. It's in the beliefs you inherited from parents who inherited them from their parents. It's in the cultural programming that convinced you wealth is scarce, hard-won, and reserved for the lucky few. Let me tell you what happened to Marcus. He was a software engineer pulling in six figures, living in a nice apartment, driving a decent car. By all conventional measures, he was doing well. But Marcus was broke, not in his bank account. In his consciousness. He'd wake up at 3 a.m. with his heart racing, calculating bills, running scenarios of financial disaster. He had money, but felt poor. His quantum wallet was locked shut. One Tuesday afternoon, Marcus sat in a coffee shop watching a guy in a worn-out jacket pay for his drink with crumpled bills. The man was smiling, actually smiling. Marcus, with his designer laptop and platinum credit card, felt a surge of envy. How could someone with so little seem so free? That question cracked something open. Marcus realized he'd been wealthy in dollars, but poverty-stricken in frequency. He was tuned to lack despite his abundance. The shift didn't happen overnight, but it started with a single recognition. Wealth wasn't about the numbers. It was about the broadcast. Marcus began experimenting with his internal signal. Instead of checking his balance with dread, he'd pause, breathe, and ask himself a different question. What if there's always enough? What if money flows easily to me? What if I'm supported by infinite supply? Within 3 months, Marcus received 2 unexpected job offers, both with significant raises. A stock he'd forgotten about tripled in value. His landlord offered him a reduced rent to stay in the building. None of this came from hustling harder. It came from changing his frequency. He stopped repelling and started magnetizing. His quantum wallet unlocked. Now, you might be thinking this sounds too simple, too easy. And that's exactly the problem. You've been conditioned to believe wealth must be difficult, that abundance requires suffering, that you have to struggle, sacrifice, and strain to deserve financial success. This belief system is the bars of your prison. And you're the one holding the key. Quantum physics revealed something extraordinary in the early 20th century. Observation affects reality. The famous double-slit experiment proved that particles behave differently when they're being watched. The act of measurement collapses infinite possibilities into a single outcome. Your attention is creative. Your focus is formative. Where you place your awareness determines what manifests in your experience. So what have you been observing? If you're honest, probably lack, probably scarcity, probably problems. You check your bank account looking for proof of limitation. You scroll through social media, comparing your finances to others. You watch the news, absorbing stories of economic crisis and recession. Every single one of these observations is collapsing the quantum field into more of what you don't want. The wealthy don't do this, not because they're smarter or more disciplined, because they're tuned to a different frequency. They observe opportunity where you see obstacle. They focus on expansion where you focus on contraction. They're not living in a different reality. They're just collapsing a different set of possibilities from the same quantum field you have access to. This is where most manifestation teaching gets it wrong. They tell you to visualize and affirm and think positive thoughts. But if your underlying frequency is broadcasting poverty, those surface-level techniques are like putting a bumper sticker on a broken-down car and expecting it to run. You need to go deeper. You need to rewire the signal at the source. Your poverty frequency has a signature. It sounds like this. I can't afford that. Money is tight. I wish I had more. Someday when I'm wealthy, rich people are greedy. I'm not good with money. There's never enough. I have to work hard for every dollar. These phrases aren't casual observations. They're commands to the quantum field. They're instructions for what to create in your reality. Every time you speak these words, even silently in your mind, you're reinforcing the neural pathways of lack. You're strengthening the poverty program. You're building a stronger antenna for scarcity. And the universe, being a faithful servant, delivers exactly what you're broadcasting for. Not what you want, what you're vibrating. Here's what most people don't understand about the reticular activating system. Your brain is filtering reality every single second. There's too much information in your environment for you to process consciously, so your RAS decides what gets through and what gets blocked. It's like a bouncer at the club of your awareness, and it only lets in what matches your dominant beliefs and expectations. If you believe money is scarce, your RAS will filter reality to show you evidence of scarcity. You'll notice the bills, the expenses, the things you can't afford. You'll walk past opportunities because your brain has been programmed not to recognize them. They're invisible to you. Not because they don't exist, but because your filter is set wrong. Meanwhile, someone operating on an abundance frequency walks through the same world and sees completely different things. They notice the opportunities, the connections, the possibilities, the synchronicities. Their RAS is set to wealth, so that's what gets through the filter. Same quantum field, same reality, totally different experience. Change the filter, change your life. It's that simple and that profound. But changing the filter requires you to question everything you've been taught about money. It requires you to examine the beliefs running in your subconscious like background programs on a computer. Most people never do this work. They stay stuck in the default programming they downloaded in childhood. Think back to your earliest money memories. What did you hear about wealth growing up? Money doesn't grow on trees. We can't afford that. Do you think I'm made of money? Rich people are selfish. We're not like those people. You have to work hard for what you get. These weren't just casual comments from your parents. They were installations. They were coding your financial operating system. And now, decades later, you're running that same code and wondering why you keep getting the same results. You're trying to manifest abundance with software programmed for scarcity. It doesn't work. It can't work. You need to uninstall the poverty program and upload a new one. Sarah thought she was doing everything right. She had vision boards. She read all the books. She did her affirmations every morning in the mirror. I am wealthy. I am abundant. Money flows to me easily. But nothing changed. Her business stayed flat. Her income remained stagnant. She was frustrated and starting to think manifestation was nonsense. Then Sarah worked with someone who asked her a question nobody had asked before. What do you really believe about wealthy people? Sarah paused. She'd never examined this directly. As she dug deeper, she uncovered a belief she didn't know she had. Wealthy people are disconnected from real struggle. They don't understand what life is like for normal people. They're out of touch and privileged. There it was, the hidden program. Sarah wanted money, but she'd unconsciously linked wealth with being a bad person, with losing her identity, with becoming someone she judged. No amount of vision boards could override that subconscious association. Her quantum wallet was locked from the inside by her own judgment of wealth. Once Sarah identified the belief, she could challenge it. She started noticing wealthy people who were generous, grounded, and connected. She saw that money could amplify goodness, not diminish it. She realized she could be wealthy and still be herself. Actually, she could be more herself because she wouldn't be stressed about survival. That shift in belief changed everything. Within 6 months, Sarah's business revenue doubled. She attracted high-paying clients who valued her work. She raised her rates without guilt. She started saving and investing with ease. The external circumstances didn't change first. Her internal frequency changed, and then reality reorganized itself to match the new signal. This is the pattern. This is how quantum wealth works. You don't chase money. You don't hustle harder. You don't sacrifice more. You change your frequency, and money reorganizes itself around your new vibration. It sounds mystical, but it's actually mechanical. It's physics. It's how the universe operates at the most fundamental level. Now, let's talk about entanglement. In quantum mechanics, two particles can become entangled, meaning they're connected regardless of distance. What happens to one instantly affects the other. This isn't theory. It's been proven in laboratories worldwide, and it applies to wealth in ways that will change how you think about networking, relationships, and financial flow. You are entangled with every person, every idea, and every opportunity you've ever connected with. These connections exist in the quantum field, whether you're consciously aware of them or not. And here's the critical part. You're either entangled with abundance or entangled with lack. Your network is literally your net worth, but not in the way business gurus teach it. It's not about collecting contacts. It's about quantum linking with sources of wealth frequency. When you spend time with someone operating on an abundance vibration, you start to sync with that frequency. It's like tuning forks. Strike one, and nearby tuning forks begin to resonate at the same pitch. Spend time around lack consciousness, and you'll start vibrating lack. Spend time around abundance consciousness, and you'll start vibrating abundance. This is why your 5 closest relationships determine your financial reality. Not because they're going to give you money or opportunities, though that might happen. Because you're entangled with their frequency. You're in constant quantum communication with their beliefs, their energy, their vibration, and you're unconsciously calibrating to match the average of your tribe. Look at your 5 closest friends. What's their relationship with money? Are they abundant or scarce? Are they expanding or contracting? Are they opportunistic or victimized? Your income will likely average out to something close to theirs. Not because you're copying them, but because you're entangled with their frequency at a quantum level. This doesn't mean you dump everyone and find rich friends. It means you become conscious of the entanglements you're in. You start to notice when you're being pulled down into lack conversations. You begin to protect your frequency like you'd protect your physical health. You seek out people who vibrate at the level you're growing into, not the level you're trying to leave behind. And here's something most people miss. You're not just entangled with people. You're entangled with the content you consume. Every podcast, every article, every social media post is a quantum link. If you're consuming poverty content, crisis content, lack content, you're entangling with that frequency. You're bringing those vibrations into your field. The wealthy are obsessive about what they allow into their awareness. They don't watch the news. They don't scroll social media mindlessly. They don't listen to people complain about the economy. not because they're privileged or ignorant, because they know their frequency is their fortune. They guard it fiercely. They curate their quantum entanglements with ruthless intentionality. You need to do the same. Audit your inputs. What are you reading? What are you watching? Who are you listening to? Every single input is either raising your frequency or lowering it. There's no neutral. You're either entangling with abundance or entangling with lack. Choose wisely. Now we arrive at one of the most powerful quantum principles for wealth: superposition. In the quantum realm, particles exist in multiple states simultaneously until they're observed. Schrodinger's famous cat is both alive and dead until someone opens the box. Your financial reality works the same way. Right now, you exist in multiple financial states simultaneously. You're both broke and wealthy until you collapse one reality into manifestation through observation and decision. This is where most people get trapped. They observe their current circumstances and assume that's the only reality. They look at their bank balance and say, "This is what's real. This is what's true. I'm broke, and that's a fact." But quantum physics says otherwise. Your current bank balance is just one collapsed possibility out of infinite potential states. It's real, yes, but it's not the only reality available to you. Imagine standing at a crossroads where every path represents a different financial timeline. In one direction, you're struggling paycheck to paycheck. In another, you're comfortably abundant. In another, you're wildly wealthy. All of these paths exist simultaneously in the quantum field. Which one manifests depends entirely on which one you observe, which one you focus on, which one you choose to collapse into form. Most people keep observing and collapsing the same broke timeline over and over. They wake up, check their balance, feel the familiar anxiety, think the familiar thoughts, take the familiar actions. They're stuck in a loop, repeatedly collapsing the same scarcity reality. They think they're being realistic. Actually, they're being repetitive. They're choosing the same quantum state day after day and wondering why nothing changes. Wealthy people have mastered something different. They hold multiple financial realities in their mind simultaneously. They acknowledge their current state without making it their identity. They can say, "Right now, I have this amount," and also simultaneously hold the reality that abundance is flowing to me, opportunities are coming, wealth is my natural state. They exist in financial superposition. This isn't delusion. This is quantum mechanics applied to consciousness. You're not denying your current reality. You're refusing to make it your only reality. You're keeping multiple possibilities alive in your awareness until one of them collapses into form through your consistent focus, emotion, and action. You're playing the quantum game instead of the limited linear game. Here's how this looks practically. You check your bank account and see a number that's lower than you'd like. The old pattern would be to spiral into anxiety, to collapse into the scarcity timeline, to broadcast lack. The new pattern is different. You observe the number without judgment. You acknowledge it as one data point in one moment. Then you immediately shift your focus to the abundant timeline. You ask yourself, what would someone with unlimited wealth do right now? You feel into that frequency. You make a decision from that state. You collapse a different possibility. Do this consistently and you'll start to notice something miraculous. Your external reality begins to shift. Money shows up from unexpected places. Opportunities present themselves. You get ideas you never had before. This isn't magic. This is you finally aligning with a different quantum possibility and giving it enough focused attention to collapse it into your physical experience. Let me be clear about something important. This doesn't mean you ignore practical action. Quantum wealth isn't about sitting on your couch, visualizing checks while your bills pile up. It's about taking inspired action from an abundant frequency, instead of desperate action from a scarcity frequency. The actions might look similar on the surface, but the energy behind them is completely different. And energy determines outcome. When you apply for a job from scarcity, you're broadcasting, "Please pick me. I need this. I'm not enough." When you apply from abundance, you're broadcasting, "I'm valuable. I'm exploring alignment. I have options." Same action, totally different frequency. And the person reviewing your application feels that difference even if they can't name it. Energy is information. Frequency is communication. You're always broadcasting something. This brings us to one of the most misunderstood aspects of manifestation: the role of emotion. Most people think they need to feel good to attract good things, but that's not quite accurate. You need to feel the frequency of what you want to attract. Feeling good is great, but it's not the same as feeling wealthy. You can feel happy while still vibrating poverty. You can feel positive while still broadcasting lack. Wealthy frequency has a specific signature. It feels like ease, like knowing, like trust, like playfulness, like curiosity, like expansion, like freedom. It doesn't always feel excited or joyful, though it can. Sometimes it's just calm certainty, quiet confidence, relaxed expectation. This is what you're cultivating. This is the emotional state that magnetizes money. Scarcity frequency also has a signature. It feels like tightness, like grasping, like urgency, like fear, like contraction, like desperation, like heaviness. You know this feeling intimately. You've been swimming in it for years. Every time you think about money, this is what arises. And this is what you're learning to interrupt, disrupt, and transform. Take a moment right now and scan your body. What's present when you think about your financial situation? Is there tension in your chest? Tightness in your belly? Shallowness in your breath? That's your poverty frequency in physical form. Your body is the antenna. Your emotions are the signal. And right now, you might be broadcasting distress. Now shift your attention. Imagine for just a moment that money flows to you effortlessly, that you always have enough, that you're supported by infinite supply. What happens in your body when you hold this thought? Does something soften? Does your breath deepen? Does a tiny sense of relief appear? That's your abundance frequency. That's what you're learning to live in. That's the state that collapses wealth into form. The practice isn't to feel this once and expect everything to change. The practice is to notice when you've dropped into scarcity frequency and consciously shift back to abundance frequency. Over and over, hundreds of times a day at first. This is the work. This is the rewiring. This is how you change your quantum broadcast from lack to wealth. Let me tell you about David. He was a real estate agent in a competitive market, barely making ends meet. Every month was a struggle. He'd call potential clients with this underlying desperation that they could feel through the phone. He needed the sale. He needed the commission. He needed them to say yes, and they could sense it. They'd make excuses, tell him they'd think about it, choose other agents. David was stuck in a scarcity loop. One day, frustrated and exhausted, David decided to try something different. He stopped chasing. He stopped needing. He told himself that he was already successful, already abundant, already supported. At first, it felt like a lie, but he kept practicing the feeling. Before every call, he'd take 3 deep breaths and drop into abundance frequency. He'd remind himself that clients were seeking him, that he had value to offer, that the right people would recognize it. The shift was subtle but powerful. His voice changed. His energy changed. His approach changed. He started asking different questions, listening more deeply, offering genuine value instead of making a pitch. Within 2 weeks, he closed 3 deals. Within 2 months, he had more clients than he could handle. Nothing changed in the market. Everything changed in his frequency. David learned what quantum physics has been trying to teach us all along. You don't find abundance out there. You become abundant in here. You don't chase wealth. You embody it. You don't convince people to give you money. You vibrate at a frequency that makes people want to flow resources towards you. You become magnetic instead of desperate. You become attractive instead of needy. You align with the quantum field of infinite supply and let it work through you. This is the secret the wealthy know but rarely articulate. They're not smarter than you. They're not luckier than you. They're not more deserving than you. They're just tuned to a different frequency. They're broadcasting abundance while you've been broadcasting lack. They're collapsing wealthy timelines while you've been collapsing broke timelines. They're entangled with prosperity while you've been entangled with scarcity. Same quantum field, different channel. And here's the liberating truth. You can change channels anytime you want. You're not stuck. You're not broken. You're not cursed. You're just tuned to the wrong station. All you need to do is adjust the dial. Turn away from poverty frequency. Turn toward wealth frequency. Hold it there long enough for reality to reorganize itself around your new signal. This is quantum wealth. This is your birthright. This is what you're here to remember. Now let's go deeper into the mechanics of this. The zero-point field is a concept from quantum physics that describes the lowest possible energy state of a quantum system. Even in complete vacuum, even at absolute zero temperature, there's still energy present. There's still vibration. There's still infinite potential. This field is sometimes called the quantum vacuum, and it's anything but empty. It's pregnant with possibilities. It's the womb of creation. It's where everything comes from and returns to. When you connect to the zero-point field, you're tapping into the source of all abundance. This isn't a metaphor. There is an actual field of infinite potential that permeates all of reality. Every atom, every molecule, every cell in your body is connected to this field. You're not separate from it. You're made of it. You are the zero-point field, expressing itself as you. The question isn't whether you have access to infinite supply. The question is whether you remember you do. Most people operate from a scarcity model. They believe resources are limited, opportunities are scarce, and they have to compete for their slice of a finite pie. This belief disconnects them from the zero-point field. It creates the illusion of separation. It makes them feel like they're on their own, struggling to survive in a harsh world where there's not enough to go around. This perception is the root of all financial suffering. The truth is radically different. There is no finite pie. There is no scarcity. There is only abundance, creating more abundance in an endless fractal expansion. The universe is infinitely generative. New wealth is being created every second. New opportunities are emerging constantly. New possibilities are always available. The zero-point field is bottomless. You cannot deplete it. You cannot use it up. You cannot take too much. When you truly understand this, when you feel it in your bones, everything changes. You stop hoarding. You stop grasping. You stop fearing loss. You relax into the truth that you are connected to infinite supply. You become generous because you know there's more where that came from. You take bold risks because you trust that resources will be there when you need them. You operate from overflow instead of depletion. You give from fullness instead of lack. This is the consciousness of true wealth, not the anxiety of protecting what you have, not the stress of accumulating more, but the ease of knowing you're plugged into an infinite source that can never run dry. This is what it means to have your quantum wallet unlocked. You're not just accessing your bank account, you're accessing the field itself. You're drawing from the bottomless well. You're drinking from the eternal spring. Close your eyes for a moment, or if you're driving, just soften your focus. Take a deep breath. Feel your body in this present moment. Now imagine roots growing from the base of your spine, extending down through the floor, through the earth, deeper and deeper until they reach the very core. Feel those roots connecting you to the planet's electromagnetic field. You're grounded. You're stable. You're connected to something vast. Now imagine a column of golden light descending from above, entering through the crown of your head, filling your entire body with warm, luminous energy. This light is abundance. This light is infinite supply. This light is the zero-point field itself, flowing through you, as you, in every cell and atom. You're not separate from this abundance. You are this abundance. You are made of the same substance as every dollar, every opportunity, every resource that exists. Breathe this, knowing into your body. Let it settle into your bones. Feel the truth of your connection to infinite wealth. You don't have to earn this. You don't have to prove yourself worthy. You're already connected. You've always been connected. You just forgot. And now you're remembering. You're coming home to your natural state of abundance. You're aligning with the frequency of wealth that's been waiting for you to tune in. Open your eyes when you're ready. Notice how you feel. Something might have shifted, even subtly. That shift is your quantum wallet beginning to unlock. That feeling is your frequency starting to change. That knowing is your connection to the zero-point field becoming conscious. This is where transformation begins. Not in your bank account, in your awareness, in your vibration, in your energetic signature. Now let's talk about decision-making. Every choice you make is an act of collapsing quantum possibilities into reality. When you stand at a crossroads and choose one path, you're not just picking an option. You're collapsing infinite other timelines and crystallizing one specific reality into form. Your decisions are that powerful. Your choices are that creative. Every time you decide, you're essentially telling the universe which version of reality you want to experience. Most people make decisions from lack. Should I buy this, or will I not have enough? Can I afford this opportunity, or is it too risky? Should I invest in myself, or play it safe? These questions are rooted in scarcity. They're asking from a place of fear and limitation. And when you decide from that frequency, you collapse scarcity timelines. You create more of what you're trying to avoid. Wealthy people make decisions from abundance. They ask different questions. What would expand me? What would the wealthiest version of me choose? What feels aligned with infinite supply? What would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? These questions come from a completely different frequency. They assume wealth, not lack. They expect success, not failure. They trust support, not abandonment. And when you decide from this frequency, you collapse abundance timelines. You create more of what you actually want. The shift is subtle, but everything. Same decision, different energy, completely different outcome. Because the quantum field doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. It mirrors your frequency back to you. If you're vibrating scarcity when you make a choice, the universe delivers scarcity results. If you're vibrating abundance when you make a choice, the universe delivers abundance results. Your feeling state during decision-making is literally programming your future. This means you never want to make important financial decisions from a state of fear, panic, or desperation. When you feel those emotions rising, that's your signal to pause, to breathe, to wait until you can access a different frequency, because any decision made from scarcity will reinforce scarcity. Any choice made from lack will create more lack. You cannot solve a low-frequency problem with a low-frequency decision. Instead, you learn to shift your state first, then decide. You might take a walk, listen to music, meditate, move your body. Do whatever it takes to interrupt the scarcity frequency and access abundance frequency. Then, from that elevated state, you ask the question again. You feel into the options. You notice which choice expands you versus which choice contracts you. You trust your abundance guidance system, and you act. This is what it means to have quantum wealth consciousness. You're not making decisions based on external circumstances. You're making decisions based on internal frequency. You're not asking what's realistic given my current situation. You're asking what's aligned with my abundant future. You're not playing defense, protecting what you have. You're playing offense, calling in what you're becoming. You're collapsing the reality you want instead of perpetuating the reality you have. Think about the last major financial decision you made. Maybe it was taking a job, making a purchase, starting a business, declining an opportunity. Whatever it was, what frequency were you in when you decided? Were you expansive or contracted? Trusting or fearful? Aligned with abundance or worried about lack? Can you feel how that frequency shaped the outcome you experienced? What if you could remake that decision from a different state? What if you could go back to that moment, access abundance frequency, and choose again? What might have unfolded differently? Not to create regret, but to recognize the power you have moving forward. Every future decision is a chance to collapse a different timeline. Every choice is an opportunity to align with wealth instead of lack. You're not a victim of circumstances. You're a creator of reality, and your decisions are your magic wand. Here's something crucial to understand. You don't need to have money to vibrate abundance. In fact, the whole game is learning to vibrate abundance when your bank account says otherwise. This is the ultimate quantum paradox. You must become wealthy in frequency before you can become wealthy in form. You must embody the energy before you experience the evidence. You must be the thing before you have the thing. This frustrates people. They want to see the money first, then they'll believe. They want external proof before they'll shift internal frequency. But that's not how quantum physics works. The observer affects the observed. The frequency determines the form. The inside creates the outside. You cannot wait for circumstances to change before you change your vibration. Your vibration must change first, and then circumstances will follow. It's an inside-out universe, not an outside-in universe. So you practice feeling wealthy when you're broke. You practice feeling abundant when you're lacking. You practice feeling supported when you're struggling. This isn't fake it till you make it. This is quantum mechanics. You're choosing which possibility to collapse. You're selecting which timeline to energize. You're deciding which frequency to broadcast. And the universe, being the perfect mirror it is, will eventually reflect back what you're consistently emanating. This is why gratitude is so powerful for wealth. Not because it's nice or spiritual, but because it's a frequency shifter. When you feel genuine appreciation for what you have, even if it's little, you broadcast abundance. You signal to the quantum field that you recognize supply. You acknowledge flow. You see yourself as someone who receives, and the field responds by sending more to receive. Gratitude is a magnet for wealth because it vibrates at the frequency of having instead of the frequency of lacking. But here's the trick. It has to be real gratitude, not performative gratitude. You can't just make a list and expect magic. You have to actually feel the appreciation in your body. You have to let it move through you. You have to marinate in the emotion of thankfulness. When you do this authentically, your nervous system relaxes. Your heart rate variability increases. Your brain waves shift into coherence. You literally become a different person at a cellular level. And that different person attracts different circumstances. So the practice becomes simple. Throughout your day, notice what you're grateful for. The coffee that's hot, the bed that's comfortable, the air that's breathable, the sun that's shining, the friend who texted, the body that's working. Start small. Start obvious. Let yourself feel the genuine appreciation. Don't rush to the next thing. Linger in the feeling. Savor it. Let it fill you. This is you training your system to recognize abundance instead of lack. This is you tuning your receiver to wealth instead of poverty. And watch what happens. As you practice this consistently, you'll start to notice more things to appreciate. Your brain's reticular activating system will start filtering for abundance instead of scarcity. You'll see opportunities you were blind to before. You'll recognize synchronicities you would have missed. You'll feel impulses to take actions you wouldn't have considered. The external world hasn't changed. Your perception of it has changed. And in quantum terms, there's no difference. Perception is reality. Observation creates outcome. Frequency determines form. Now we need to address the measurement problem. In quantum physics, the act of measuring a particle collapses its wave function from multiple possibilities into a single actuality. Before measurement, the particle exists in superposition. After measurement, it's fixed in one state. This has profound implications for your relationship with money. How you measure your wealth directly affects what you create. Most people measure their worth by their bank balance. They check the number and feel either good or bad based on what they see. But this approach has a fatal flaw. It makes your emotional state dependent on external circumstances. It gives power to the number. It allows the measurement to determine your frequency. And remember, your frequency is what's creating your future. So if checking your balance drops you into scarcity, you're literally programming more scarcity with every measurement. This doesn't mean you ignore your finances. It means you develop a different relationship with tracking. You learn to observe your money without attachment. You check your balance with neutrality. You see the number as information, not identity. You notice what's there without making it mean something about you, your worth, or your future. You measure from abundance frequency instead of letting the measurement determine your frequency. This is an advanced skill. It requires you to separate your emotional state from your bank account. It asks you to find your security inside yourself, not in your savings. It invites you to know you're abundant regardless of the number on the screen. This is the paradox. You must become unattached to having money in order to allow money to flow. You must stop making it significant in order to create more of it. You must measure without obsessing, track without grasping, observe without collapsing into fear. Here's a practical approach. Before you check your balance, set your frequency first. Take 3 deep breaths. Connect to the 0-point field. Feel your connection to infinite supply. Remind yourself that this number is just one snapshot in one moment of one timeline. It's not the whole truth. It's not your identity. It's just data. Then, from this grounded state, look at the number. Notice it, acknowledge it, and immediately shift your focus to what you're calling in, not what's currently there. This practice interrupts the old pattern of checking your balance and spiraling into anxiety. It rewires your response. It trains you to maintain abundance frequency regardless of external circumstances. And over time, as you master this skill, you'll notice something remarkable. The numbers start to change, not because you stopped looking, but because you stopped collapsing into scarcity when you looked. You stopped feeding the fear. You stopped energizing the lack. You started holding a higher frequency consistently, and reality reorganized itself to match. The same principle applies to bills, expenses, and financial obligations. Most people open a bill with dread. They see the amount and immediately contract. They think, I don't have this. How will I pay this? This is too much. That contraction is a quantum broadcast. It's signaling lack to the field. It's collapsing a scarcity timeline. It's reinforcing poverty consciousness. What if you opened every bill with appreciation? What if you said thank you to the electricity company for keeping your lights on? What if you felt grateful to the landlord for providing shelter? What if you saw every expense as evidence that you have things worth paying for? This shift changes everything. You're still paying the same bill, but you're doing it from abundance instead of lack. You're energizing wealth instead of poverty. You're telling the universe you have resources to share instead of broadcasting that you're depleted. I know this might sound absurd if you're genuinely struggling. If you're behind on bills and facing financial crisis, gratitude might feel impossible, but this is exactly when you need it most, not as a bypassing technique, not as spiritual gaslighting, but as a legitimate frequency intervention. Because the scarcity you're feeling is what's perpetuating the scarcity you're experiencing. The anxiety is feeding the problem. The fear is creating more to fear. You're in a loop, and gratitude is the circuit breaker. Even in the hardest moments, there's something to appreciate. The fact that you're alive to face this challenge, the breath moving through your lungs, the resilience you've shown so far, the possibility that things can change, the quantum field that's listening to your every broadcast. Start there. Feel the real appreciation for these fundamental truths. Let that feeling shift your state. From that shifted state, take the next action. Pay the bill. Make the call. Have the conversation. But do it from a different frequency. Do it as someone who's connected to infinite supply, not someone who's isolated in scarcity. The results will surprise you. Solutions will appear. Help will arrive. Opportunities will emerge. Not always immediately, not always obviously, but consistently if you maintain the practice. Because you're no longer vibrating the problem. You're vibrating the solution. You're no longer collapsing lack. You're collapsing abundance. You're no longer reinforcing poverty. You're installing wealth, and the quantum field, being the faithful mirror it is, must reflect back what you're putting out. Let's talk about coherence. In physics, coherence refers to waves that are aligned and synchronized. When multiple waves vibrate at the same frequency and phase, they amplify each other. They create constructive interference. They become more powerful together than they could ever be separately. This principle applies directly to your wealth creation. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions are coherent, aligned toward abundance, you become an unstoppable force for manifestation. But most people are incoherent. Their thoughts say one thing. Their emotions say another. Their actions say something else entirely. They think I want to be wealthy while feeling I'm not enough while acting from scarcity. These contradictory signals cancel each other out. They create destructive interference. They neutralize manifestation power. The universe doesn't know what you actually want because you're broadcasting mixed messages. Imagine your mind says yes to a business opportunity while your heart feels terrified and your body withdraws. Which signal is the universe receiving? All of them. And they're contradicting each other. So you get mixed results, half-hearted outcomes, confusing circumstances, things that almost work but don't quite manifest. This is incoherence in action. This is what happens when your system isn't aligned. Coherence requires you to get all parts of yourself on the same page. Your conscious mind, your subconscious beliefs, your emotional body, and your physical actions all need to be broadcasting the same frequency. When you achieve this alignment, your manifestation power multiplies exponentially. You become a focused beam of creative energy instead of a scattered mess of contradictions. You become a laser instead of a flashlight. You become magnetic instead of chaotic. So how do you create coherence? You start by identifying the contradictions. Where are you saying you want wealth while believing you can't have it? Where are you affirming abundance while feeling unworthy? Where are you visualizing success while taking actions that sabotage it? These splits are where your power is leaking. These disconnects are where your manifestation is failing. You have to find them and integrate them. One powerful practice is to simply sit in stillness and ask yourself, what do I really believe about money? Not what you want to believe, not what you think you should believe. What do you actually believe deep down, in the hidden places you don't usually examine? Let the honest answer emerge. Don't judge it. Don't try to change it yet. Just see it clearly. Acknowledge the truth of where you are. Maybe you discover you believe wealthy people are greedy, or that you don't deserve financial success. or that money is the root of evil, or that you'll lose yourself if you become rich. These beliefs are running your subconscious. They're sabotaging your conscious desires. They're creating incoherence in your system. Once you see them clearly, you can challenge them. You can question whether they're actually true. You can look for evidence that contradicts them. You can deliberately choose new beliefs that align with what you want. This isn't about positive thinking. This is about creating internal agreement. If your conscious mind wants wealth, but your subconscious believes wealth is bad, you'll stay stuck forever. You have to resolve the contradiction. You have to bring all parts of yourself into alignment with the same vision, the same frequency, the same truth. You have to become coherent. The same process applies to emotions and actions. If you're taking action from fear, that fear will contaminate the outcome. If you're making business moves while feeling desperate, that desperation will repel success. If you're networking while believing you have nothing to offer, that belief will block connection. Your emotional state while acting determines the result of the action. So you need to get your emotions coherent with your vision before you move. This might mean pausing before you act, checking in with how you feel, shifting your state if necessary, waiting until you can take the action from abundance instead of lack. It might feel slower in the moment, but it's actually faster because you're not creating contradictory results that you then have to undo. You're creating clean, coherent outcomes that align with what you actually want. And here's what happens when you achieve true coherence. Your manifestations accelerate. Things that used to take years happen in months. Opportunities that seemed impossible become obvious. Money flows with an ease that feels almost magical. Not because the universe suddenly decided to favor you, but because you stopped working against yourself. You stopped sending mixed signals. You stopped creating destructive interference. You became a coherent, focused, powerful broadcaster of abundance frequency, and the quantum field had no choice but to match your signal. Take a moment to assess your current coherence. On a scale of 1 to 10, how aligned are your thoughts, feelings, and actions around money? Where are the biggest contradictions? What would it take to bring more coherence into your system? These aren't rhetorical questions. They're diagnostic tools. Your honest answers will show you where the work is. And the work is always worth it because coherence is the difference between wanting abundance and actually creating it. Now let's address sustainability. Many people have temporary breakthroughs with abundance. They shift their frequency, attract some money, and then slide back into old patterns. They experience a quantum leap only to find themselves back where they started a few months later. This happens because they haven't installed permanence. They've changed their state, but not their structure. They've had a peak experience, but not a lasting transformation. Quantum permanence means you maintain your wealth frequency regardless of circumstances. It means you don't drop back into scarcity when unexpected expenses arise. It means you don't collapse into fear when income fluctuates. It means you stay tuned to abundance through the ups and downs of normal financial life. This is the difference between a temporary win and a permanent shift. This is the difference between getting lucky once and becoming wealthy for life. The key to permanence is practice. You don't just shift your frequency once and expect it to stick. You shift it 1,000 times, 10,000 times. You make abundance frequency your default setting through repetition. You build new neural pathways through consistency. You create new habits through discipline. You install new programming through daily practice. This is the unglamorous truth of transformation. It's not a magic pill. It's a committed practice. Your quantum wealth routine might include morning gratitude, visualization, frequency checks throughout the day, conscious decision-making, tracking without attachment, coherence cultivation, and evening reflection. These aren't burdensome tasks. They're acts of self-love. They're investments in your future. They're the price of freedom. And they're far easier than staying stuck in poverty consciousness for the rest of your life. Here's what a day of quantum wealth practice might look like. You wake up, and before you check your phone, you check your frequency. You notice what you're feeling. If you're contracted, you breathe and expand. You think of 3 things you're genuinely grateful for and let yourself feel the appreciation. You set an intention for the day. Today I'm tuned to abundance. Today I'm aligned with wealth. Today I'm open to receive. You say it. Feel it. Embody it. Throughout the day, you notice when you drop into scarcity. Someone mentions money and you feel tension. You see a price tag and you contract. You think about bills and you worry. Each time you catch it, you don't judge yourself. You just notice and you consciously shift back. Deep breath. Remember the 0-point field. Feel your connection to infinite supply. Return to abundance frequency. Over and over. This is the practice. This is the work. When you make decisions, you pause. You check your state. You ask abundance questions instead of scarcity questions. You choose from expansion instead of contraction. When you check your balance, you do it with neutrality. When you pay bills, you do it with appreciation. When you interact with money in any way, you do it consciously, deliberately, from the frequency you want to reinforce. At night, you reflect. What went well today? Where did I stay in abundance? Where did I slip into scarcity? What did I learn? What will I practice tomorrow? You don't make this a harsh inventory. You make it a loving check-in. You're training yourself into a new way of being. You're rewiring decades of conditioning. You're installing quantum wealth consciousness. You're building permanence through practice. And over time, something shifts. The practice becomes easier. The frequency becomes more stable. The abundance becomes more consistent. You notice you're not dropping into scarcity as often. You're recovering faster when you do. You're making better decisions. You're attracting better opportunities. You're experiencing more synchronicities. The external evidence starts to match the internal frequency. The quantum wallet is fully unlocked. This is what permanence looks like. Not perfection, not never having a moment of fear or doubt, but having the tools to shift out of those states quickly, having the awareness to catch yourself before you spiral, having the practice to return to abundance no matter what's happening. This is mastery. This is freedom. This is what you're building. So commit to the practice. Not for a week, not for a month. For as long as it takes to make abundance frequency your permanent operating system. Most people quit right before the breakthrough. They practice for a while, don't see immediate results, and give up. Don't be most people. Be the one who stays with it. Be the one who trusts the process. Be the one who knows that every repetition is rewiring your brain. Every practice is shifting your field. Every choice is collapsing a new timeline. Your quantum wallet is unlocking right now, with every word you've heard, with every insight you've received, with every practice you've committed to. You're not the same person who started this journey. Your frequency has shifted. Your awareness has expanded. Your possibilities have multiplied. The old, broke version of you is dissolving. The new, wealthy version of you is emerging. You're in the birth canal of transformation. Don't turn back now. Remember this, wealth isn't out there. It's in here. It's not something you get. It's something you become. It's not about the numbers in your account. It's about the frequency in your field. You are the quantum wallet. You are the infinite supply. You are the 0-point field expressing itself in human form. You've always had access to unlimited abundance. You just forgot how to tune in, and now you're remembering. Now you're recalibrating. Now you're coming home to your natural state of wealth. The quantum field is listening to your every thought, feeling, and choice. It's responding to your frequency in every moment. It's collapsing the reality that matches your vibration. So what are you broadcasting? What are you choosing? What timeline are you energizing? Make it abundance. Make it wealth. Make it overflow. You deserve it. You're worthy of it. You're made for it. Your quantum wallet is fully operational. All you have to do is use it. Step into this new identity. Walk as someone who's connected to infinite supply. Speak as someone who's aligned with abundance. Think as someone who's tuned to wealth. Make decisions as someone who trusts the universe. Feel emotions as someone who knows they're supported. Live as someone whose quantum wallet is unlocked. Because you are that someone. You've always been that someone. You just needed to remember. And now you have. Let's go deeper into the practical application of these quantum principles, because understanding is only the first step. Integration is where the real transformation happens. You can know all of this intellectually and still stay broke if you don't embody it. Embodiment means your body knows it, your nervous system believes it, your automatic responses reflect it. This is the work that separates those who dabble in manifestation from those who master it. Your nervous system is the key to everything. It's running programs installed decades ago, programs designed to keep you safe in an environment that no longer exists. When you were a child and heard your parents fight about money, your nervous system created an association. Money equals danger, conflict, tension, threat. That association is still running in your autonomic nervous system today. Every time you think about finances, your body goes into subtle fight or flight activation. You might not even notice it consciously, but it's there, and it's broadcasting scarcity to the quantum field. This is why affirmations alone don't work. You can say, "I am abundant" 1,000 times, but if your nervous system is firing in threat mode, the quantum field receives the threat signal, not the words. Your body is always telling the truth. Your words might lie, but your nervous system doesn't. It's broadcasting your actual state, your real frequency, your genuine vibration. And the universe responds to what's real, not what you're pretending. So the work becomes somatic. You have to get into your body. You have to feel where the scarcity is stored. Maybe it's tension in your jaw. Maybe it's tightness in your solar plexus. Maybe it's shallowness in your breath. Maybe it's a knot in your stomach. These physical sensations are poverty consciousness in flesh form. They're the embodied version of your lack beliefs. And until you release them, you'll keep recreating scarcity no matter what you do mentally. Here's a practice you can do right now, or whenever you notice scarcity activation in your body. Stop whatever you're doing. Place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. Close your eyes if you can. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose for a count of 4. Hold it gently at the top for a count of 4. Release it slowly through your mouth for a count of 6. Repeat this pattern 5 times. This simple breath work interrupts the stress response and activates your parasympathetic nervous system. It tells your body you're safe, and when your body feels safe, it can receive abundance. But don't just do this once and move on. Do it multiple times throughout your day. Every time you check your bank account, every time you think about bills, every time you see something you want but assume you can't afford, every time scarcity activation happens, interrupt it with conscious breathing. You're literally rewiring your nervous system. You're creating new neural pathways. You're teaching your body that money doesn't equal danger. You're installing safety where there used to be threat. This might seem too simple to be powerful, but simplicity is often where the power lives. Your nervous system doesn't need complex interventions. It needs consistent signals of safety. It needs repeated experiences of calm in the presence of money. It needs to unlearn the old associations and learn new ones. And breath is the fastest, most accessible tool you have for nervous system regulation. Use it religiously. Make it automatic. Turn it into a habit that runs without thinking. Now let's talk about money stories. Everyone has them. These are the narratives you tell yourself about why you don't have wealth, why you can't create it, why you're not capable of keeping it. Money is hard to make. I'm not good with finances. I always end up broke. Rich people are lucky, and I'm not. The economy is terrible right now. My industry doesn't pay well. I have too much debt. I started too late. I don't have the right connections. These stories feel true. They feel like facts. But they're not. They're interpretations. They're meanings you've assigned to circumstances. And meanings can be changed. Your money story is the script your quantum wallet is following. If the story says you're broke, your wallet stays locked. If the story says you're abundant, your wallet unlocks. It's that direct. The quantum field doesn't judge your story as true or false. It simply manifests whatever story you're consistently telling. So if you want different results, you need a different story. You need to become the author of your financial narrative instead of the victim of it. Start by writing down your current money story. Be brutally honest. Don't censor it. Don't make it pretty. Just let the truth spill out. I don't have enough. I'll never get ahead. I'm always struggling. Money slips through my fingers. I can't afford the life I want. I'm trapped in this job. I'll never be wealthy. Whatever your story is, get it on paper. Look at it. See it clearly. This is what you've been broadcasting. This is what the universe has been mirroring back to you. Now read that story and ask yourself a radical question. Is this absolutely true? Can you know with 100% certainty that these statements are facts? Or are they interpretations, beliefs, meanings you've assigned? Most of the time, you'll discover they're not facts. They're stories. And stories can be rewritten. You're not editing reality. You're editing your interpretation of reality. And in quantum terms, that's the same thing. So write a new story. Not a fantasy, not a delusion, but a different interpretation of the same life circumstances. Instead of, I don't have enough, try I'm learning to work with what I have while calling in more. Instead of, I'll never get ahead, try I'm on a journey of financial growth. And I'm making progress. Instead of money slips through my fingers, try I'm developing new skills for managing and multiplying money. Do you feel the difference? Same life, different story, different frequency, different quantum broadcast? Read your new story out loud. Let your body hear it. Notice how it feels compared to the old story. Does it create a sense of opening? Does it allow for possibility? Does it reduce the grip of hopelessness? If so, you've found a story that's closer to abundance frequency. Keep reading it every morning, every night. Let it become more familiar than the old story. Let it carve new grooves in your brain. Let it become your new default narrative. And watch what happens in your external reality as your internal story shifts. You'll start to notice things that confirm the new story. Opportunities that align with growth. Evidence of progress. Signs of support. This isn't the universe suddenly changing. This is your reticular activating system filtering reality through a new lens. You're seeing what was always there, but was invisible through the old story. You're collapsing different possibilities because you're broadcasting a different frequency. Let me tell you about Jennifer. She was a single mother working 2 jobs, barely making ends meet. Her money story was brutal. I'm alone in this. Nobody helps me. I have to do everything myself. I'll always be struggling. This isn't fair. She felt victimized by life, trapped in circumstances she didn't choose, powerless to change her situation. And that story kept her locked in exactly the reality it described. One day, exhausted and desperate, Jennifer decided to try something different. She wrote down her money story and read it back to herself. Seeing it on paper was shocking. She realized she'd been telling herself a story of complete powerlessness. So she wrote a new one. I'm a resourceful woman, navigating a challenging season. I'm learning to create income in creative ways. I'm open to receiving help and support. I'm building skills that will serve me for life. Things are hard now, but they're changing. At first, the new story felt fake. Her circumstances hadn't changed. She was still working 2 jobs, still struggling to pay bills, still exhausted. But she kept reading the new story anyway. and slowly, subtly, things began to shift. A coworker mentioned a side gig that Jennifer was perfect for. A friend offered to watch her kids for free on certain nights. She discovered a community program that helped with utilities. An old client reached out asking if she was available for freelance work. Within 6 months, Jennifer had quit one of her jobs and was making the same money with half the hours. Within a year, she'd built a small business from home and was earning more than she ever had at her 2 jobs combined. The circumstances changed because the story changed. The external reality shifted because the internal frequency shifted. She stopped vibrating victim and started vibrating resourceful. She stopped broadcasting trapped and started broadcasting creative. She stopped being powerless and started being sovereign. Same quantum field, different story, completely different life. What's your relationship with receiving? This is crucial and often overlooked. Most people say they want money, but they're terrible at receiving it. They deflect compliments. They refuse help. They feel guilty when someone pays for dinner. They apologize for charging what they're worth. They can't accept gifts without feeling indebted. They're blocked at the receiving level, and then they wonder why money doesn't flow to them. You cannot receive money if you can't receive anything. Receiving is a skill. It's a muscle you develop through practice. And for most people, especially those raised in scarcity, it's incredibly weak. You were taught that it's better to give than receive. That accepting help makes you a burden, that you should be self-sufficient, that depending on others is weakness. These beliefs create receiving blocks that stop the flow of all abundance, not just money. You've built walls around yourself that prevent anything good from getting in, and then you wonder why you feel isolated and lack resources. The practice of receiving starts small. When someone compliments you, instead of deflecting or diminishing, simply say thank you. Feel the words land. Let yourself take in the appreciation. Notice the urge to reject it and choose differently. When someone offers to help, instead of automatically saying no, I've got it, pause. Consider saying yes. Allow the support. Notice how it feels to lean on someone. When someone pays for your meal or buys you a gift, instead of immediately calculating how to repay them, simply receive with gratitude. Let it be a gift, not a transaction. These small moments are training your nervous system to be receptive. You're literally rewiring your capacity to let good things in. And as you develop this capacity in everyday interactions, it extends to money. You become able to receive payment without guilt. You can charge premium prices without apologizing. You can accept unexpected money without suspicion or fear. You open the channels that have been clamped shut, and abundance begins to flow. Think about water flowing through a pipe. If the pipe is kinked or blocked, no matter how much water is available at the source, nothing gets through. Your receiving capacity is that pipe. The quantum field is the infinite water source. The blockage isn't in the supply. It's in your ability to allow the supply through. Clear the blockage, open the channel, and the flow resumes naturally. This is what developing your receiving capacity does. It removes the kink in your abundance pipe. Here's a powerful practice for expanding your receiving capacity. For the next 7 days, say yes to everything positive someone offers you, no matter how small. The coffee they want to buy, the compliment they give, the help they extend, the opportunity they mention. Practice receiving without deflecting, without minimizing, without immediately reciprocating. Just receive. Say thank you and let it in. Notice what comes up. Notice the discomfort, the guilt, the urge to balance the scales. Notice it and stay with receiving anyway. You're reconditioning yourself at a deep level, and as you practice receiving in these small ways, start practicing with money, specifically. When you get paid, don't rush to spend it or distribute it or make it disappear into bills. Pause. Look at the amount. Say thank you. Feel the appreciation for this money coming to you. Let yourself receive it fully before you send it back out. When unexpected money arrives, a refund, a gift, a found bill. Stop and acknowledge it. Thank you. I receive this. I'm open to more. You're training your quantum wallet to stay open instead of immediately slamming shut. This might sound unnecessarily ceremonial, but it's actually deeply practical. Every time you pause to consciously receive, you're sending a signal to the quantum field. I'm open. I'm receptive. I'm allowing. Send more. And the field, being the responsive mirror it is, complies. You get more opportunities to receive because you've demonstrated you know how to receive. The universe doesn't waste resources on closed channels. It flows to where there's receptivity. Become receptive, and you become magnetic. Let's address a question that might be arising. What about action? Does quantum wealth mean you just sit around vibrating abundance and wait for money to appear? Absolutely not. Action is essential. But the kind of action matters enormously. There's inspired action and desperate action. There's aligned action and forced action. There's flow action and struggle action. They might look identical from the outside, but they create completely different results because they're coming from completely different frequencies. Desperate action comes from fear, from I have to make something happen or I'm doomed, from if I don't do this, I'll fail. This energy is contracted, tight, grasping. It repels opportunity even as you're reaching for it. People can feel your desperation. They can sense your need, and it makes them want to move away, not toward. Desperate action creates desperate results. Struggle action creates struggle results. Forced action creates forced results. The how you do something is just as important as what you do. Inspired action feels completely different. It comes from I'm excited about this possibility. From this feels aligned and right. From I'm curious to see where this leads. This energy is expansive, open, playful. It attracts opportunity because there's no grasping. People feel your genuine enthusiasm. They sense your authentic interest, and it makes them want to engage, support, participate. Inspired action creates inspired results. Flow action creates flow results. Aligned action creates aligned results. The same job application sent from desperation versus inspiration will have different outcomes. The same sales call made from need versus abundance will land differently. The same networking conversation held from scarcity versus overflow will create different connections. This is quantum mechanics in action. Your frequency during the action determines the quality of the outcome. So before you act, check your state. Ask yourself, am I doing this from fear or from inspiration? From contraction or expansion? From lack or from abundance? If it's fear, contraction, or lack, pause. Shift your frequency first, then act from the elevated state. How do you know if action is inspired? It feels like a pull, not a push. It feels like yes, not I should. It feels like excitement, not obligation. It feels like play, not work. It feels like expansion, not contraction. It feels like flow, not force. Your body will tell you if you listen. Inspired action creates energy. Desperate action depletes energy. Inspired action feels light. Desperate action feels heavy. Trust these signals. They are your quantum guidance system telling you what frequency you are in, and therefore what results you're about to create. This doesn't mean you only act when you feel inspired, and you avoid everything else. Sometimes you have to do things you don't feel like doing. Bills must be paid. Responsibilities must be handled. But you can choose the frequency you bring to those tasks. You can pay the bill from gratitude instead of resentment. You can handle the responsibility from abundance instead of burden. You can do the unglamorous work from a place of it's all part of my journey instead of this is proof I'm failing. Same action, different frequency, different quantum broadcast, different result. Here's what this looks like practically. You need to make a sales call. The old pattern would be to force yourself to do it while feeling anxious about whether they'll say yes, worried about rejection. desperate for the income. That frequency would leak into your voice, your word choice, your energy. The person on the other end would feel it and likely say no, or maybe, or I'll think about it. Desperate frequency creates desperate outcomes. The new pattern is different. Before you make the call, you pause, you breathe, you connect to the 0-point field. You remind yourself that you're offering value, that you're abundant regardless of this outcome, that the right clients are seeking you. You feel into that truth until your nervous system relaxes. Then you make the call from genuine curiosity. I wonder if this is a good fit. I'm excited to explore this possibility. I trust that if it's aligned, it'll unfold easily. That frequency creates space for genuine connection. And genuine connection creates sales far more effectively than desperate pitching ever could. Same call, same offer, different frequency. And frequency determines outcome. This is the quantum wealth principle in action. You're not manipulating or faking. You're consciously choosing which timeline to collapse by choosing which frequency to broadcast during the action. You're being intentional instead of default. You're being sovereign instead of reactive. You're creating instead of just doing. Let's talk about money blocks at a deeper level. These are the subconscious beliefs that sabotage your wealth creation no matter what you do consciously. They're like invisible walls you keep running into without knowing why. You take action, work hard, do everything right, and still don't get the results you want. That's a money block. It's operating beneath your awareness, quietly ensuring you don't exceed your subconscious wealth thermostat. Common money blocks include unworthiness, guilt, fear of losing yourself, fear of others' judgment, and believing you have to choose between money and values. Let's break each one down. Unworthiness says, I don't deserve wealth. Somewhere in your past, you internalize the message that you're not good enough, valuable enough, or worthy enough for abundance. Maybe you were compared to siblings. Maybe you were criticized constantly. Maybe you were made to feel like a burden. Those experiences installed a belief that you're not worthy of receiving, and that belief now acts as a ceiling on your wealth. Guilt says, if I have money while others don't, I'm a bad person. This one is particularly common in people raised with strong religious or social justice values. You've linked wealth with selfishness. You believe having more means others have less. You think being rich makes you part of the problem. So subconsciously, you sabotage any movement toward wealth because your identity as a good person depends on staying modest, humble, struggling alongside the less fortunate. Your values and your desires are in direct conflict. And values almost always win. Fear of losing yourself says, if I become wealthy, I'll change into someone I don't want to be. You've watched wealthy people be shallow, disconnected, materialistic, or corrupt. You've decided that money changes people for the worse. So becoming wealthy feels like a threat to your authentic self. You'd rather stay broke and genuine than become rich and fake. This block is particularly strong in artists, activists, and people who've built identity around being countercultural or alternative. Fear of others' judgment says if I succeed financially, people will resent me, envy me, or distance themselves from me. Maybe you grew up in a community where standing out was dangerous. Maybe you were punished for being too much or too successful. Maybe you learned that fitting in equals safety and visibility equals threat, so you keep yourself small financially to avoid triggering others' jealousy or criticism. You'd rather struggle with your tribe than succeed and be alone. Believing you have to choose between money and values says, I can either be wealthy or be ethical, but not both. This block assumes money and meaning are mutually exclusive, that you can be rich or righteous, but not both. That profit and purpose can't coexist. So you choose purpose and sacrifice profit, or you pursue profit while feeling guilty and conflicted. Either way, you're operating from a split that prevents true abundance because part of you is always working against the other part. Do any of these resonate? Most people have multiple blocks operating simultaneously. The work is to identify which ones are active in your system and then consciously dismantle them. You don't do this by fighting them or suppressing them. You do it by bringing them into awareness, questioning them, finding evidence that contradicts them, and choosing new beliefs that serve you better. Let's work with unworthiness. If you suspect this block is active, ask yourself, where did I learn that I'm not worthy? What early experiences installed this belief? Was there a specific moment or relationship that made me feel not good enough? Let the memories surface. Don't judge them. Don't minimize them. Just see them clearly. Acknowledge the pain of those experiences. Validate the younger version of you who internalized those messages. Then ask, is it true that I'm not worthy of wealth? Can I find evidence that contradicts this belief? Have I ever created value for others? Have I ever solved problems, helped people, made contributions? Have I ever been appreciated, thanked, recognized? If so, then clearly I do create worth. Clearly I do offer value. The unworthiness is a lie installed by painful experiences, not a truth about who I am. I can choose a different belief. I am worthy of receiving in proportion to the value I create. I am deserving of abundance. I am enough. Write the new belief down. Say it out loud. Feel it in your body, even if it's uncomfortable at first. Keep repeating it until it starts to feel more true than the old belief. You're not faking it. You're installing a new program over an old virus. You're debugging your operating system. You're upgrading your software from poverty consciousness to wealth consciousness. And every time you choose the new belief over the old one, you strengthen the new neural pathway and weaken the old one. Do this work with each block you identify. Question it. Find contradictions. Choose a new belief. Practice embodying the new belief until it becomes automatic. This is deep work. It's not quick or easy, but it's absolutely necessary if you want permanent quantum wealth. Because you can shift your frequency temporarily with techniques and practices, but if the underlying blocks are still there, you'll snap back to your default setting. Remove the blocks, and the default setting shifts permanently. The thermostat adjusts. The ceiling lifts. True transformation becomes possible. Now let's talk about the relationship between giving and receiving. In the quantum field, these aren't separate actions. They're two sides of the same flow. When you give authentically, you create a vacuum that the universe fills. When you receive graciously, you honor the giver and complete the circuit. The flow requires both. If you only give, you deplete yourself and block others from the joy of giving to you. If you only receive, you create stagnation and block yourself from the expansion that giving creates. Wealth consciousness knows how to do both with ease. But here's where most people get it wrong. They give from depletion, trying to earn love or prove worth or manipulate an outcome. They give with strings attached, expecting reciprocity. They give while resenting it, feeling obligated or pressured. This isn't true giving. This is transaction disguised as generosity, and it doesn't create the quantum flow that attracts abundance. It actually reinforces scarcity because you're giving from the belief that you don't have enough, so you're trying to get something back. True giving comes from overflow. You give because you have abundance to share. You give because it brings you joy. You give because you trust there's more where that came from. You give without attachment to outcome or expectation of return. You give as an expression of your connection to infinite supply, not as a strategy to manipulate the universe into giving back. This kind of giving is actually a demonstration of abundance frequency. It broadcasts, I have more than enough. It signals overflow, and the quantum field mirrors overflow back to you. The same principle applies to receiving. Most people receive with guilt, feeling like they now owe something. They receive while minimizing the gift, making it less significant to reduce their sense of debt. They receive with suspicion, wondering what the giver really wants. This isn't true receiving. This is transaction disguised as acceptance. And it doesn't complete the circuit. It blocks the flow because you're receiving from the belief that you shouldn't need help, that accepting support makes you weak, that you have to immediately balance the scales. True receiving comes from worthiness. You receive because you know you deserve good things. You receive because you honor the giver's desire to contribute. You receive because you trust that accepting support is part of the natural flow of abundance. You receive without guilt or obligation, or need to reciprocate immediately. You receive as an expression of your openness to the infinite supply, not as evidence of your insufficiency. This kind of receiving is actually a demonstration of abundance frequency. It broadcasts, "I am worthy," it signals receptivity, and the quantum field flows more easily to receptive channels. Practice both. Give from overflow whenever you can, even if it's small. Pay for someone's coffee. Leave a generous tip. Contribute to a cause you believe in. Help a friend without being asked. Share your knowledge freely. These acts of giving from abundance reinforce your abundance frequency. They remind you that you have enough to share. They prove to your subconscious that you're not in scarcity. They broadcast overflow to the quantum field, and practice receiving with grace whenever you can. Accept the compliment without deflecting. Say yes to the offer of help. Allow the gift without immediately reciprocating. Let someone treat you to dinner. Receive the opportunity without questioning whether you deserve it. These acts of receiving reinforce your receptivity. They remind you that you're worthy of support. They prove to your subconscious that you're not alone in this. They broadcast openness to the quantum field. As you develop both capacities, you'll notice the flow accelerates. Money comes more easily. Opportunities multiply. Support appears from unexpected sources. You're not forcing or chasing. You're flowing. You're in the current of quantum abundance. You're experiencing what it feels like when your wallet is fully unlocked and resources move through you instead of getting stuck in you. This is wealth consciousness in its fullest expression. This is what it means to be a clear channel for prosperity. Let me share another story. There was a man named Robert who was a talented musician but always broke. He'd play gigs, teach lessons, create music, but somehow never had enough money. He'd blame the industry, the economy, the unfairness of the arts being undervalued. But the real issue was his frequency. Robert had a deep belief that real artists suffer for their art. That struggling was proof of authenticity, that wealth would corrupt his creative purity. He'd internalized the starving artist archetype so thoroughly that his subconscious wouldn't let him succeed financially. One day, Robert met a musician who was both wildly successful, creatively, and financially abundant. This person shattered Robert's belief that you had to choose. Here was someone making meaningful art and making great money. Someone who was authentic and wealthy. Someone who proved it was possible to have both. That encounter cracked open something in Robert's consciousness. Maybe he didn't have to suffer. Maybe wealth could enhance his creativity instead of destroying it. Maybe he'd been blocking his own abundance with a false belief system. Robert started questioning everything. Why did he believe struggle was noble? Where did that come from? Was it actually true? He realized it was a story passed down through generations of artists who'd been marginalized by a system that undervalued creativity. He'd inherited their wound and made it his identity. But he didn't have to. He could honor the struggles they faced while choosing something different for himself. He could be both an artist and abundant. The shift happened slowly. Robert started charging what he was worth instead of undervaluing his lessons. He started saying yes to commercial opportunities he would have dismissed as selling out. He started treating his music as a business, not just a passion. He started believing he could be successful without losing his soul. And as his beliefs shifted, his reality followed. Within a year, he'd tripled his income. Within 2 years, he was making 6 figures doing exactly what he loved. The circumstances didn't change. His frequency changed. His beliefs changed. And reality reorganized itself to match. What false dichotomy are you living in? What either-or belief is limiting your abundance? Money or meaning? Wealth or integrity? Success or authenticity? Security or freedom? These false choices are poverty consciousness. Quantum abundance knows you can have both. You can be rich and good, successful and real, wealthy and value-driven. The either-or thinking is the trap. The both-and thinking is the liberation. Challenge every belief that says you have to choose. Question every story that puts wealth in opposition to something you value. Look for examples of people who have both. They exist. Find them. Study them. Let them prove that your either-or belief is false. Then give yourself permission to want both, to pursue both, to believe both are possible for you. This permission is the key that unlocks quantum abundance. This integration is what allows true wealth to flow. Now let's address what happens when you start shifting your frequency and things seem to get worse before they get better. This is common and important to understand. As you begin to vibrate at a higher frequency, anything that's not in alignment with that frequency will surface to be released. Old beliefs will come up louder. Old patterns will intensify. Old fears will feel more real. This isn't evidence that quantum wealth doesn't work. This is evidence that it's working. You're purging the old frequency to make room for the new one. Think of it like cleaning a dirty pool. When you first start adding chemicals and circulating the water, all the sediment at the bottom gets stirred up. The pool looks worse before it looks better. But that murky phase is necessary. It's bringing all the hidden dirt to the surface so it can be filtered out. Your consciousness works the same way. As you start clearing your poverty frequency, all the hidden blocks, beliefs, and fears come up to be seen and released. It's uncomfortable, but it's progress. During this phase, you might experience financial challenges that feel like proof you're doing something wrong, an unexpected expense, a job loss, a client cancellation. Your old pattern would be to interpret this as evidence that you're cursed, that abundance isn't for you, that you should give up. But quantum awareness knows better. This is the old reality dissolving to make way for the new reality. This is the last gasp of your poverty consciousness before it releases. This is the quantum field reorganizing itself around your new frequency. The key is to not collapse back into scarcity when this happens. Don't let the temporary turbulence convince you to abandon your new frequency. Hold steady. Maintain your abundance vibration even when circumstances seem to contradict it. This is the test. This is where most people quit. Right before the breakthrough, there's often a breakdown. Right before the manifestation, there's often a challenge. Hold your frequency through it. Trust the process. Know that you are in the transition, not at the end. Keep going. Robert experienced this. Right after he committed to changing his beliefs about money and music, he lost his biggest client. His immediate thought was, see, this doesn't work. I should have stayed in my lane. But something stopped him from collapsing. He remembered that transition often looks like loss before it looks like gain. He held his abundance frequency despite the loss. He trusted that something better was coming. He kept charging his worth. He kept believing in both and 2 weeks later he got 3 new clients, each paying double what the lost client had paid. The old had to clear out to make room for the new. If he'd panicked and dropped his frequency, he would have missed the upgrade. This is crucial to understand. The quantum field must sometimes remove what's in the way of what you're calling in. That removal can look like loss, but it's actually alignment. It's recalibration. It's the universe saying, I heard your new frequency, and I'm clearing out everything that doesn't match it so I can deliver what does. Trust this process. Don't let temporary circumstances override your commitment to your new frequency. The breakthrough is on the other side of holding steady through the breakdown. One more essential piece. Let's talk about money as energy. This might sound abstract, but it's actually the most practical understanding you can have. Money is frozen energy. It's life force that's been given a tangible form so it can be exchanged. When you work, you're giving your life energy in exchange for money. When you buy something, you're exchanging money for someone else's life energy. It's an energy exchange system. Nothing more, nothing less. When you understand this, everything changes. You stop seeing money as this separate thing you're chasing. You start seeing it as energy that flows through you. You're not trying to get money from out there. You're recognizing that money is already energy, and you're made of energy, and it's all the same substance in different forms. The separation is an illusion. You and money are both expressions of the same quantum field. You're not separate from wealth. You are wealth in human form. This understanding shifts how you relate to earning, spending, saving, and investing. Earning isn't extraction. It's energy exchange. You're offering your life force in a form that serves others, and they're offering their life force in the form of money in return. It's a fair trade of energy. There's no exploitation unless one party is operating from scarcity and trying to take more than they give. But in abundance consciousness, the exchange is balanced, clean, and mutually beneficial. Spending isn't loss. It's energy redirection. You're taking frozen energy in the form of money and sending it out to receive other forms of energy in return. Maybe that's food, shelter, experiences, or services. You're not losing anything. You're circulating energy. And in quantum terms, what you circulate returns. The flow is circular, not linear. When you spend from abundance, you're actually creating more flow, not depleting your resources. Saving isn't hoarding. It's energy storage. You're keeping some life force energy in reserve for future use. This is wise, not fearful, when done from abundance consciousness. You're not saving because you believe there won't be more. You're saving because you recognize the value of having energy available when you need it. It's strategic, not scarce. It's preparation, not panic. Investing isn't gambling. It's energy multiplication. You're placing your frozen energy into vehicles that will grow it, expand it, multiply it. You're working with the generative nature of the universe. You're trusting that when you plant energy wisely, it yields a harvest. This is abundance consciousness. You know that energy begets more energy. Investment begets more investment. Wealth begets more wealth. The universe is infinitely creative and productive when you work with its principles instead of against them. When you see money as energy, you also understand why your emotional relationship with it matters so much. Energy responds to energy. Your feelings are energy. Your thoughts are energy. Your beliefs are energy. When you think about money with fear, you're sending fear energy toward money energy. When you interact with money with gratitude, you're sending appreciation energy toward money energy. Like attracts like in the quantum field. Send abundant energy toward money, and abundant money flows toward you. Send scarce energy toward money, and money becomes scarce. This is why the wealthy stay wealthy, even when they lose everything. They didn't lose their abundance frequency. They didn't lose their energy signature. They lost the temporary form of money, but the underlying energy state remained intact. So they simply recreate wealth because that's their default frequency. Meanwhile, lottery winners who suddenly get millions often lose it all within years because their energy signature is poverty. They didn't shift their frequency. They just got a temporary form without the underlying foundation. The money leaves because there's nowhere for it to land in their energy field. You want to build the energy foundation, not just chase the temporary form. You want to become wealthy in consciousness before you become wealthy in bank account. You want to install abundance frequency so deeply that even if you lost everything, you'd recreate it easily because that's who you are energetically. This is true quantum wealth. This is permanent transformation. This is what you're building through all these practices and principles. Take a moment now to feel into your relationship with money as energy. Can you sense that money is just life force in tangible form? Can you feel that you and money are made of the same substance? Can you recognize that wealth is energy, and you are energy, and there's no real separation? If you can touch this truth, even for a moment, you've just shifted something profound. You've just altered your quantum relationship with abundance. You've just unlocked another layer of your wallet. We're coming to the integration phase now. You've received a tremendous amount of information, insights, and practices. The question is, what will you do with it? Will this be another thing you learned and forgot? Another book you finished and set aside? Another moment of inspiration that fades back into old patterns? Or will this be the turning point? The moment you actually committed to transforming your financial reality through quantum principles? The choice is yours, and the choice is now. True transformation requires decision, not just interest, not just curiosity, but a firm, non-negotiable decision that you're done with poverty consciousness and you're stepping fully into wealth consciousness. This decision doesn't happen in your head. It happens in your gut. You feel it. You know it. There's a shift in your system that says, yes, I'm doing this. I'm all in. I'm not turning back. Have you made that decision? If not, what's stopping you? Maybe it's fear. Fear of failure. Fear of actually succeeding and having to be responsible for wealth. Fear of changing and losing familiar parts of yourself. Fear of judgment from others. Fear of the unknown. Whatever the fear is, name it. Look at it directly and ask yourself, is this fear more important than my freedom? Is protecting this fear worth staying broke? Is avoiding this discomfort worth sacrificing my abundant future? Usually, when you ask the question clearly, the answer becomes obvious. No, the fear isn't worth it, and you can choose to move forward despite it. Maybe it's doubt. Doubt that this actually works. Doubt that quantum principles apply to money. Doubt that you're capable of shifting your frequency. Doubt that your situation can actually change. This doubt is understandable, especially if you've tried many things before without success. But here's the truth. Doubt is just another frequency. It's a broadcast. And when you doubt, you collapse timelines of failure. Your doubt literally creates the circumstances you fear. So the question becomes, what will you choose to energize with your attention? Doubt or trust? Skepticism or possibility? The quantum field doesn't judge. It just mirrors back whatever you consistently vibrate. Choose wisely. Maybe it's exhaustion. You're tired of trying, tired of hoping, tired of working at transformation. You just want to rest. This is valid, but consider this. Staying in poverty consciousness is actually more exhausting than shifting to wealth consciousness. The constant stress, worry, anxiety, and scarcity takes enormous energy to maintain. Abundance consciousness is actually restful. It's easeful. It's light. So you're not choosing between rest and work. You're choosing between exhausting struggle and energizing flow. The transformation might feel like effort initially, but it leads to far more ease than staying stuck ever will. Whatever your resistance is, meet it with compassion. You're not broken for having it. You're human. You've been conditioned into poverty consciousness by a lifetime of programming. Undoing that programming takes courage, commitment, and consistency. But it's absolutely possible, and it's absolutely worth it. On the other side of this transformation is a life of financial freedom, abundant resources, and quantum wealth. That version of you is waiting. The question is, will you do what it takes to become that person? Here's your quantum wealth activation protocol. This is how you install these principles into your daily life and make transformation inevitable. First, morning frequency setting. Within the first 30 minutes of waking, before you check your phone or engage with the world, set your abundance frequency. Take 5 deep breaths. Connect to the 0 point field. Feel your link to infinite supply. State your intention out loud. Today I operate from abundance. Today I vibrate wealth. Today I'm open to receive. Let this become your morning ritual. Non-negotiable. Sacred. Your daily reset that ensures you start from the right frequency. Second, gratitude throughout the day. Set reminders on your phone every 2 hours to pause and find one thing you're genuinely grateful for. Let yourself feel the appreciation for 10 seconds. That's it. This practice rewires your reticular activating system to filter for abundance instead of lack. It trains your brain to see what's working instead of what's missing. Do this consistently for 30 days, and you'll be shocked at how differently you perceive your reality. Third, scarcity interruption. Every time you notice scarcity activation in your body or mind, interrupt it immediately. Don't let it run. Catch the thought. Feel the sensation. Take 3 conscious breaths. Remind yourself of your connection to infinite supply. Choose a different thought. Choose a different feeling. Choose a different frequency. This practice builds your quantum wealth muscle. At first, you'll have to interrupt scarcity 100 times a day. Eventually, it'll happen less and less because you're weakening the neural pathway of lack and strengthening the neural pathway of abundance. Fourth, inspired action tracking. Before you take any significant action related to money or work, check your frequency. Ask yourself, am I doing this from inspiration or desperation? From expansion or contraction? From trust or fear? If it's the latter, pause. Shift your state. Wait until you can act from the elevated frequency. Then move. Keep a log of this. Notice how actions taken from different frequencies create different outcomes. This awareness will naturally guide you toward inspired action, more and more. Fifth, evening reflection. Before sleep, review your day through the lens of quantum wealth. Where did I stay in abundance today? Where did I slip into scarcity? What did I learn? What will I practice tomorrow? Don't judge yourself harshly. Just observe with curiosity. Celebrate the wins. Note the areas for growth. Let this reflection integrate the day's lessons and set your subconscious up for continued transformation while you sleep. Sixth, weekly money date. Once a week, set aside 30 minutes for a conscious money date. Check your accounts. Review your spending. Look at your income. But do it all from abundance frequency. Start with gratitude. End with visualization. In between, handle the practical logistics. This practice removes the charge around money. It makes managing finances a sacred act instead of a stressful chore. It trains you to interact with money consciously instead of reactively. Seventh, monthly abundance assessment. Once a month, do a deeper review. Look at the past 30 days. What shifted in my financial reality? What new opportunities appeared? What synchronicities occurred? What evidence of quantum wealth did I experience? Where am I still blocked? What beliefs still need work? What practices need to be strengthened? This monthly check-in keeps you honest, aware, and actively engaged in your transformation instead of passively hoping for change. Do these 7 practices religiously. Not perfectly, but consistently. They're simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. They require discipline. They require commitment. They require you to prioritize your financial transformation over immediate comfort. But if you do them, if you actually implement this protocol, your quantum wallet will unlock. Your frequency will shift. Your reality will transform. This is the activation sequence that takes quantum wealth from concept to experience. And remember this, you don't have to believe in quantum physics for this to work. You just have to practice the principles. The quantum field doesn't care about your intellectual understanding. It cares about your vibrational output. It responds to your frequency, not your philosophy. So even if you're skeptical, even if you're not sure how this all works, Just do the practices. Experiment. See what happens. Let your results convince you, not the theory. Your quantum wallet is unlocking right now. With every practice you commit to, with every belief you question, with every frequency you shift, with every story you rewrite, with every action you take from inspiration instead of desperation. You're not the same person who started this journey. Something has changed in you. Something has awakened. Something has remembered. You're reclaiming your birthright of abundance. You're reconnecting to the infinite supply that's always been yours. You're coming home to quantum wealth. The universe is listening. The quantum field is responding. Your frequency is broadcasting. What reality are you collapsing? What timeline are you energizing? What future are you calling into form? Make it abundant. Make it wealthy. Make it overflow. Not from greed, but from knowing. Not from lack, but from alignment. Not from desperation, but from divine right. You are a quantum being with access to infinite resources. You are a creative force capable of collapsing any possibility into reality. You are the author of your financial story, and the story you write from this moment forward determines everything. So write wealth, write abundance, write overflow, write freedom. Write the story of someone who discovered their quantum wallet and never looked back. Write the story of someone who shifted their frequency and watched their reality transform. Write the story of someone who stopped chasing money and started magnetizing it. Write the story of someone who remembered they are the infinite supply in human form. That story is waiting to be lived. That reality is waiting to be collapsed. That frequency is waiting to be embodied. But let's go even deeper, because there are layers to this transformation that most people never explore. There are advanced quantum wealth principles that separate those who have temporary wins from those who build permanent prosperity. There are subtle frequency shifts that make the difference between manifesting sporadically and manifesting consistently. And there are common pitfalls that trip people up right when they are on the verge of breakthrough. Let's talk about the quantum paradox of worthiness. Here's what trips people up. They think they need to become worthy before they can receive abundance. They believe they have to earn it, prove themselves, or transform into someone more deserving. But quantum physics reveals the opposite. You're already worthy. You've always been worthy. Worthiness isn't something you achieve. It's something you recognize. You don't become worthy of abundance. You remember that you are abundance. This distinction is everything. When you're trying to become worthy, you're operating from lack. You're saying, I'm not enough yet. I need to be more, do more, achieve more before I deserve wealth. That frequency is scarcity. That signal is poverty, and the quantum field mirrors it back perfectly. You stay stuck in the trying to become loop, never quite arriving at the destination of worthiness because the destination doesn't exist. You're chasing something you already have. When you recognize your inherent worthiness, everything shifts. You're not trying to earn abundance. You're simply allowing what's already yours. You're not proving your value. You're accepting your value as a given. You're not becoming someone worthy of wealth. You're being someone who knows wealth is their natural state. This recognition is immediate. It doesn't require time, effort, or achievement. It's a choice available in this moment. Do you choose to recognize your worth, or do you choose to keep questioning it? Most people spend years, even decades, postponing abundance while they work on becoming worthy. They read more books, attend more seminars, complete more healing, check more boxes, clear more blocks, and all of this can be valuable, but it can also become a sophisticated form of procrastination. A way of keeping wealth at arm's length while appearing to pursue it. The ultimate spiritual bypass. I'm not ready yet. I need to heal more first. I haven't cleared enough blocks. I don't feel worthy enough. Meanwhile, life passes and abundance remains a future promise instead of a present reality. What if you just decided you're worthy right now? not as arrogance, not as delusion, but as simple recognition of truth. You exist. You're here. You're a conscious being in this vast quantum universe. That existence itself is proof of worth. You don't need to earn the right to breathe. You don't need to prove you deserve to exist. You're here. Therefore, you're worthy. The same applies to abundance. You're alive. Therefore, you have access to infinite supply. It's not complicated. It's not conditional. It's fundamental. Take a breath right now and let this land. Say it out loud if you can. I am worthy. I am worthy of abundance. I am worthy of wealth. I am worthy of overflow. I am worthy simply because I exist. Notice what comes up. Notice the part of you that wants to argue, to list reasons why you're not worthy, to provide evidence of your insufficiency. Notice that voice. That's not truth. That's programming. That's the poverty consciousness trying to maintain its grip. You don't have to fight it. Just notice it and choose differently. Now, let's address the frequency of desperation. This is perhaps the most common block people face when trying to manifest money. They want it so badly that their wanting becomes need. Their desire becomes desperation, and desperation is repellent. It broadcasts lack so loudly that it drowns out everything else. The quantum field receives the desperate signal and mirrors back more situations that trigger desperation. It's a vicious cycle that keeps people stuck no matter how much they affirm, visualize, or practice. Desperation feels like urgency in your body, like gripping in your chest, like anxiety in your belly, like racing thoughts about worst-case scenarios, like checking your bank account obsessively, hoping the numbers changed, like sending that follow-up email again even though you sent one yesterday, like discounting your prices because you need the sale, like taking opportunities you know aren't aligned because you're afraid nothing else will come, like operating from survival mode instead of strategic choice. If this describes your current state, you're in desperate frequency, and desperate frequency repels wealth. Here's the trap. The less money you have, the more desperate you feel. The more desperate you feel, the more you broadcast scarcity. The more you broadcast scarcity, the less money flows to you. The less money flows to you, the more desperate you feel. Round and round. This is why it's so hard to shift financial reality when you're in crisis. You're caught in a feedback loop where your circumstances create the exact frequency that perpetuates those circumstances. Breaking this cycle requires you to do something that seems impossible. You have to stop being desperate for money while you desperately need money. You have to relax your grip while you're in a situation that demands you hold tighter. You have to trust while everything looks untrustworthy. You have to act from abundance while your bank account screams scarcity. This is the ultimate quantum paradox, and it's the gateway to breakthrough. How do you do this practically? You start by acknowledging the desperation without identifying with it. You say, yes, there's desperation in my system. Yes, I'm scared about money. Yes, this situation feels urgent. You don't deny it or suppress it. You see it clearly. Then you recognize that desperation is a feeling, not a fact. It's energy moving through you, not the truth of who you are. You can feel desperate without being desperate. You can notice the urgency without acting from it. You can acknowledge the fear without letting it drive your choices. Next, you find the smallest possible amount of space between the desperation and your next action. Maybe it's 3 breaths. Maybe it's 30 seconds. Maybe it's a 5-minute walk. You create just enough pause to interrupt the pattern of acting directly from desperation. In that pause, you ask yourself a different question. What would I do in this situation if I knew I was supported? What would I choose if I trusted money was flowing to me? How would I handle this if I was operating from abundance instead of scarcity? The answers might be the same actions you were already going to take, but the energy behind them will be different. You might still send the email, but from curiosity instead of neediness. You might still apply for the job, but from alignment instead of desperation. You might still take the opportunity, but from strategy instead of fear. The external action looks identical. The internal frequency is completely different, and frequency determines outcome. Same action, different frequency, different result. This practice doesn't make the desperation disappear immediately, but it weakens the link between desperate feeling and desperate action. It creates space for conscious choice instead of reactive behavior. And over time, as you repeat this practice hundreds of times, the desperation itself begins to dissolve. Because desperation is reinforced by desperate action. When you stop acting from it, you stop feeding it. When you stop feeding it, it loses power. When it loses power, your frequency shifts. When your frequency shifts, money begins to flow more easily. Let me tell you about Tanya. She was a freelance designer in serious financial trouble. 3 months behind on rent, credit cards maxed out, phone getting shut off. The desperation was overwhelming. Every morning she'd wake up with her heart pounding, immediately checking her email, hoping for new client inquiries. She'd send proposals with this underlying energy of please, please hire me, I'm desperate. She'd underbid on projects just to get the work. She'd say yes to nightmare clients because she couldn't afford to say no. The desperation was palpable, and clients could sense it. They'd either disappear or take advantage of her vulnerable state. One night, unable to sleep, Tanya had a breakdown. She was sobbing on her bathroom floor, completely depleted, ready to give up. And in that moment of surrender, something shifted. She realized that the desperation itself was the problem, not her situation, not her skills, not the economy. Her desperate energy was repelling the very thing she needed. She was so focused on the lack that she was broadcasting lack as her primary signal to the universe, and the universe was faithfully delivering more lack. Tanya made a decision that night. She decided that even though her circumstances were dire, she was going to stop acting from desperation. She didn't know how she'd make it work. She just knew she couldn't continue down the same path and expect different results. So she started practicing the pause. Before she responded to any inquiry, she'd take 3 deep breaths. Before she sent any proposal, she'd check her frequency. If she felt desperate, she'd wait. She'd shift her state first, even if it was just slightly, then take the action. She started saying no to projects that didn't feel aligned, even when she desperately needed money. She raised her rates to match her value, even when she was terrified no one would pay. She responded to inquiries with genuine curiosity about fit instead of pleading for the opportunity. She acted as if she was already successful, already in demand, already abundant, even though her bank account said otherwise. It felt like walking a tightrope, like playing a high-stakes game of chicken with the universe, like the scariest thing she'd ever done. Within 2 weeks, something unexpected happened. A past client reached out with a rush project at triple her normal rate. Then another connection led to a retainer worth more than she'd made in the previous 3 months. Then a company she'd worked with a year ago called to offer her a part-time creative director position with benefits. Within 6 weeks, Tanya had gone from 3 months behind on rent to 2 months ahead. Within 3 months, she'd paid off her credit cards and had savings for the first time in years. What changed? Not her skills, not her portfolio, not the market. Her frequency changed. She stopped broadcasting desperation and started broadcasting value. She stopped acting from need and started acting from worth. She stopped collapsing scarcity timelines and started collapsing abundance timelines. Same person, same talents, different frequency, completely different results. This is quantum wealth in action. This is what happens when you shift your broadcast from lack to abundance, even in the midst of challenging circumstances. Can you relate to Tanya's story? Have you been caught in the desperation loop? If so, what would it take for you to start practicing the pause? What would it take for you to stop acting from desperation even when you feel desperate? What would it take for you to trust that shifting your frequency is more important than forcing outcomes? This is the work. This is the practice. This is what separates those who transform from those who stay stuck. Now let's explore the concept of quantum wealth leaps. Most people think financial growth is linear. You make this much this year, a bit more next year, slowly climbing the ladder over decades. This is the traditional model. Work hard, save gradually, inch your way toward security. And it works for some people. But it's not how quantum reality operates. In the quantum field, change isn't linear. It's exponential. It happens in leaps, not steps. Sudden shifts, not gradual inclines. This is how transformation actually works when you align with quantum principles. Think about water. You can heat it from 30 degrees to 99 degrees, and it stays liquid. It changes gradually, getting warmer, but fundamentally remaining the same state. Then you add one more degree. It hits 100, and suddenly, instantly, it transforms into steam. That's a quantum leap. The system reaches a threshold and suddenly shifts to an entirely different state. Your financial reality works the same way. You can work on your frequency, practice your principles, shift your beliefs, and see gradual improvements for a while. Then suddenly, everything shifts. You reach the threshold. You collapse a new timeline. You quantum leap into a completely different financial reality. These leaps can look like unexpected windfalls, sudden opportunities, career breakthroughs, business explosions, or synchronicities that completely redirect your path. They seem to come out of nowhere, but they don't. They're the result of all the frequency work you've been doing, reaching critical mass. You've been heating the water degree by degree, and now you've hit the boiling point. The transformation looks sudden from the outside, but it was building all along through your consistent practice. Your frequency shifts, your belief changes, your action alignments. The key to quantum leaps is to stop thinking linearly about your financial growth. Stop assuming you have to climb the ladder one rung at a time. Stop believing that wealth takes decades. Stop limiting yourself to incremental progress. These beliefs are ceiling caps on your quantum wallet. They're telling the field that you expect slow, gradual, limited change. And the field delivers exactly what you expect. Linear growth for those who believe in linear growth. Quantum leaps for those who believe in quantum leaps. So how do you position yourself for quantum leaps? First, you release attachment to how and when wealth will come. You stop trying to control the path, and you focus on being the frequency that attracts the path. You trust that the universe has access to infinite routes, methods, and timelines you can't even imagine. Your job isn't to figure out how. Your job is to be the frequency that allows the how to emerge. Second, you stay open to opportunities that seem too good to be true. Often, quantum leap opportunities arrive disguised as lucky breaks, random chances, or coincidental timing. Your logical mind might dismiss them as unrealistic or too risky, but your abundance frequency recognizes them as the universe responding to your signal. You have to be willing to say yes to things that don't make logical sense but feel energetically aligned. This is where trust becomes essential. This is where faith in the quantum field gets tested. Third, you act with speed when the opportunity presents itself. Quantum leaps have windows. They don't wait for you to overcome your fear, analyze all the variables, and feel completely ready. They require you to move quickly when the opening appears. This doesn't mean being reckless. It means being responsive. When the universe delivers an opportunity that matches your frequency, you honor it by taking action. You don't hesitate. You don't overthink. You trust your alignment, and you move. Fourth, you prepare for the quantum leap before it arrives. You start living, thinking, and being as if the leap has already happened. You make space in your life for the abundance you're calling in. You upgrade your environment, your habits, your standards. You act as if the wealth is already here, which sends a powerful signal to the quantum field that you're ready to receive it. This isn't pretending. This is embodying the frequency of your desired reality so fully that the external circumstances have no choice but to match. Here's what this looked like for Carlos. He was a mid-level manager at a tech company, making decent money, but feeling completely unfulfilled. He knew he was capable of more, but couldn't see the path. He'd been working with quantum wealth principles for about 8 months, shifting his frequency, releasing blocks, practicing abundance consciousness. He'd seen some improvements, a small raise, a bonus, more ease with money, but nothing dramatic, nothing that felt like the breakthrough he'd been hoping for. Then one day, out of nowhere, a former colleague reached out. They'd started a company and needed someone with Carlos's exact skill set to run operations. The offer was 4 times his current salary, plus equity, plus the chance to build something meaningful. It seemed too good to be true. Carlos's logical mind said, "This is suspicious. What's the catch? Why me? I'm not qualified for this level." But his frequency knew differently. This was the quantum leap. This was the universe responding to 8 months of consistent frequency work. This was the water hitting 100 degrees and transforming to steam. Carlos had a choice. He could let fear and logic talk him out of it. He could dismiss it as too risky or unlikely. He could stay in his comfortable, safe, unfulfilling job. Or he could trust his frequency, trust the quantum field, and say yes to the leap. He chose the leap. He accepted the offer within 24 hours, and his life completely transformed. Within a year, the company grew exponentially. His equity became worth millions. He was doing work he loved, leading a team, making an impact, and experiencing a level of abundance he'd never imagined possible just 18 months earlier. From the outside, it looked like Carlos got lucky. Right place, right time, right connection. But Carlos knew the truth. This wasn't luck. This was quantum mechanics. He'd been building the frequency for months. He'd been shifting his consciousness from employee to leader. He'd been releasing the belief that he needed to climb the ladder slowly. He'd been practicing embodying wealth, success, and impact long before the external opportunity arrived. When the quantum leap came, he was ready. His frequency matched the opportunity, and the field delivered. What quantum leap is waiting for you? What opportunity is trying to find you but can't land because your frequency isn't a match? What transformation is one shift away from manifesting but you keep blocking it with linear thinking? Start expecting quantum leaps. Start believing in non-linear growth. Start trusting that the universe can deliver abundance through routes you never considered. This expectation itself is a frequency shift. This belief itself is a quantum broadcast, and it will position you to receive the leaps that are already trying to reach you. Now let's talk about the role of visualization in quantum wealth. This practice gets a lot of attention in manifestation circles, and for good reason, but it's often misunderstood or practiced ineffectively. Visualization isn't about fantasizing. It's not about creating a mental movie and hoping it magically becomes real. Visualization is a quantum tool for collapsing specific timelines into form. It's a frequency technology that aligns your consciousness with a particular reality so thoroughly that the quantum field has no choice but to deliver it. The key is understanding how to visualize effectively. Most people visualize from a place of lack. They imagine having wealth because they don't have it now. They picture success because they feel like failures. They see abundance because they're experiencing scarcity. This creates a split. The visualization says abundance, but the underlying feeling says lack. The quantum field receives mixed signals and delivers mixed results. The visualization doesn't work because the frequency underneath it is contradicting the image. Effective visualization happens from a place of already having. You're not imagining a future you hope for. You're experiencing a reality that already exists in quantum superposition. You're not wishing for wealth. You're inhabiting the timeline where you already have it. You're not trying to create something new. You're collapsing something that's already available. This shift in understanding changes everything about how you practice visualization. Here's how to do it. Find a quiet space where you won't be interrupted for 10 to 15 minutes. Close your eyes. Take several deep breaths to settle your nervous system. Now, instead of trying to see wealth in your future, drop into the experience of already having it right now. What does wealthy you look like? How do they carry themselves? What's their energy? What do they believe about money? How do they feel in their body? Step into that version of you fully. Wear their skin. See through their eyes. Feel their confidence, their ease, their relaxed relationship with abundance. Now, from inside this wealthy consciousness, look around at your life. What do you notice? Maybe you see a different home. Maybe you see different clothes. Maybe you see different people in your circle. Maybe you see different opportunities on your desk. Don't force specific images. Let them emerge naturally from the frequency of abundance you're embodying. The details matter less than the feeling. You want to saturate your nervous system with the felt sense of already having wealth. You want your body to believe this is your current reality, not a future hope. Stay in this state for as long as you can maintain it with genuine feeling. Maybe it's 30 seconds at first. Maybe it's 5 minutes. The duration matters less than the depth. 30 seconds of truly inhabiting wealthy consciousness is more powerful than 30 minutes of wishful thinking about future wealth. Quality over quantity, depth over duration, genuine embodiment over fantasy. When you're ready to return, don't just snap back to normal consciousness. Instead, bring the frequency with you. Carry the feeling into your regular awareness. Let the embodiment linger. Move through the rest of your day as the person you just inhabited. Make decisions from that consciousness. Speak from that frequency. Act from that identity. You're not pretending. You're practicing being wealthy in consciousness before you're wealthy in form. And being always precedes having in the quantum field. Do this daily. Make it non-negotiable. Your morning practice or evening ritual. Consistency is what builds the neural pathways. Repetition is what convinces your subconscious this is real. And when your subconscious believes you're wealthy, your external reality has no choice but to eventually reflect that belief. The lag time between internal shift and external manifestation varies, but the principle is absolute. Change the inner and the outer must follow. It's quantum law. Here's what happened for Diana. She was struggling to build her coaching business, barely making ends meet, questioning whether she should just get a regular job. She started practicing this kind of embodied visualization daily. Every morning, she'd spend 10 minutes being the version of herself who was a successful, sought-after coach. She'd feel into having a full client roster, making great money, helping people transform, being recognized for her work. She didn't just see it. She inhabited it. She became it, at least for those 10 minutes. At first, nothing changed externally. Her bank account stayed the same. Her client load stayed the same. But something was changing internally. Diana noticed she was making different decisions. She was showing up differently on sales calls. She was charging higher rates without apology. She was turning down clients who weren't aligned. She was investing in her business with confidence instead of fear. She was acting like the successful coach she'd been embodying in visualization, even though the external evidence didn't match yet. Then things started to shift. A client referred 3 friends. A speaking opportunity led to 10 new inquiries. A social media post went viral in her niche and brought dozens of potential clients. Within 3 months, Diana was fully booked at rates triple what she'd been charging. Within 6 months, she had a waiting list and had hired an assistant. The visualization didn't magically create clients, but it shifted her frequency. And that frequency shift changed how she showed up. What decisions she made, what actions she took, what opportunities she noticed, and what clients she attracted. The visualization was the seed. The frequency shift was the growth. The external results were the harvest. Are you practicing visualization? If not, why not? If so, are you doing it from lack or from embodiment? Are you wishing for a future or inhabiting a now? Are you imagining from afar or stepping inside the experience? The distinction is everything. Adjust your practice accordingly and watch what shifts in your manifestation results. Let's address the quantum concept of money velocity. This is the speed at which money moves through your life. Fast velocity means money comes in and goes out quickly, circulating, flowing, multiplying. Slow velocity means money comes in and gets hoarded, stagnated, trapped. Most people think they want to hold on to money, to save it, to keep it from leaving. But quantum wealth understands that flow is essential. Money is like water. It needs to move. When it moves, it stays fresh, vital, alive. When it stagnates, it becomes toxic. This doesn't mean you spend recklessly or refuse to save. It means you understand that money is meant to circulate. You receive it, you appreciate it, you use it in aligned ways, and you trust more is coming. You're not gripping it with white knuckles. You're not hoarding it from fear. You're allowing it to flow through you, fulfilling its purpose, moving where it needs to go, and making space for more to arrive. This is abundance consciousness. This is quantum wealth. This is how the wealthy stay wealthy. They understand money is currency, which means current, which means flow. Scarcity consciousness does the opposite. It receives money and immediately holds it tight. It's afraid to spend, afraid to invest, afraid to circulate. Every expenditure feels like loss. Every bill feels like robbery. Every purchase feels like depletion. This energy of gripping and hoarding actually repels money. It tells the quantum field, I don't trust there's more coming. I believe this is all there is. I'm afraid of lack. And the field mirrors that fear by creating more experiences of lack to fear. Abundance consciousness circulates money with trust. It spends joyfully on things that align with values. It invests confidently in growth opportunities. It gives generously to people and causes that matter. It pays bills with appreciation for the services received. It knows that every dollar sent out is making space for more dollars to come in. It trusts the flow. It believes in infinite supply. It operates from overflow instead of depletion. This energy of flowing and trusting actually attracts money. It tells the quantum field, I know there's always more. I believe in abundant supply. I'm open to receive. And the field mirrors that trust by creating more experiences of abundance to trust. Practical application. Start paying attention to how you feel when money leaves your possession. Do you contract? Do you feel loss? Do you experience anxiety? If so, that's scarcity frequency. Practice shifting it. When you pay a bill, feel gratitude for the service that bill represents. When you buy something, appreciate having resources to exchange for things you value. When you invest, trust in the multiplication of abundance. When you give, know you're circulating energy that will return amplified. You're training your nervous system to associate outflow with abundance instead of lack. Also, notice where money is stagnating in your life. Do you have money sitting in accounts, earning nothing, because you're afraid to invest it? Do you have clothes in your closet you never wear, but won't donate? Do you have things you don't use that you keep just in case? This is energy stagnation. It's blocking the flow. Clear it out. Move the energy. Donate what you don't need. Invest what's sitting idle. Give away what's no longer serving you. Make space for new energy to flow in by releasing old energy that's stuck. This is quantum wealth in action. This is how you increase money velocity and accelerate manifestation. Now, an essential topic that often gets overlooked, the relationship between quantum wealth and service. Many people think wealth is about getting, accumulating, taking, having more for themselves. This is the scarcity model. Quantum wealth understands something different. True wealth comes from giving, serving, contributing, and creating value for others. The more you serve, the more you're worth. The more value you create, the more abundance flows to you. This isn't karma. This is quantum mechanics. Value creation generates a frequency that attracts resources. Service opens channels for wealth to flow. Think about it this way. Money is an energy exchange. People give you money in exchange for value you provide. The more value you provide, the more money you can receive. This isn't complicated. But most people focus on how can I get more money instead of how can I create more value. They're pulling instead of pushing. They're taking instead of giving. They're approaching wealth from lack instead of overflow. And that frequency repels the very thing they're seeking. Shift your focus from getting to giving. Ask yourself, how can I serve more people? How can I solve bigger problems? How can I create more value? How can I contribute to others' lives in meaningful ways? As you shift your attention to service, your frequency shifts from lack to abundance. Because service is an abundant action. You can only give from overflow. You can only serve from fullness. You can only contribute from having something to offer. The very act of focusing on service puts you in abundance frequency, and the quantum field responds. As you create more value, more money flows to you. As you serve more people, more abundance comes your way. As you focus on contribution, more opportunities appear. This isn't mystical, it's practical. People pay for value. The marketplace rewards those who solve problems. The universe supports those who support others. Align yourself with service, and wealth becomes a natural byproduct instead of an elusive goal. This was the shift that changed everything for Michael. He was a struggling consultant, constantly worrying about money, always trying to figure out how to make more. His entire focus was on his needs, his bills, his survival. Then a mentor asked him a simple question. Who are you serving? And how are you serving them? Michael realized he wasn't thinking about service at all. He was thinking about getting clients, closing deals, making money. It was all about him. No wonder he was struggling. He was operating from take energy instead of give energy. Michael made a dramatic shift. He stopped thinking about what he could get from clients and started thinking about how he could genuinely help them. He stopped focusing on his income and started focusing on their outcomes. He stopped worrying about making money and started obsessing about creating value. His entire approach transformed. And so did his results. Within months, he had more clients than he could handle, all coming through referrals. Within a year, he'd tripled his income. Within 2 years, he'd built a 7-figure consulting practice. What changed? His frequency. He shifted from lack to abundance by shifting from getting to giving. He stopped approaching wealth as something to extract and started approaching it as something that flows to those who serve. Same person, same skills, different focus, completely different results. This is the power of aligning your quantum wallet with service. This is how you accelerate abundance, by giving instead of taking. How can you create more value in the world? How can you serve more people? How can you solve bigger problems? How can you contribute more meaningfully? These questions put you in abundance frequency immediately. They shift you from scarcity to overflow. They align you with the quantum principles that govern wealth creation. Answer them honestly and act on what emerges. Your quantum wallet will respond accordingly. Let's talk about the plateau. This is a phase many people hit after they've been working with quantum wealth principles for a while. They see some initial results. Things improve. Money flows more easily. Then they hit a ceiling. They plateau at a certain income level or financial reality. And no matter what, they they can't seem to break through to the next level. This is frustrating, confusing, and can lead to doubting whether quantum wealth actually works. Here's what's happening. You've shifted your frequency enough to create a new baseline, but you haven't shifted it enough to access the next level. You're vibrating at a higher frequency than you used to, which is why you've seen improvements, but you've reached the limit of your current frequency. To go higher, you need another shift, a deeper release, a more fundamental transformation. The plateau isn't failure, it's feedback. It's showing you exactly where your next edge of growth is. Usually the plateau reveals a hidden ceiling, a subconscious limit on how much wealth you believe you can have or deserve. Maybe you've unconsciously decided that making a certain amount is realistic, but making more is greedy, unrealistic, or threatening. Maybe you've hit the wealth level of your parents and subconsciously don't feel safe exceeding them. Maybe you've reached the point where more money would require you to be more visible, and visibility triggers old fears. The plateau is always pointing to the next block that needs to be cleared. The way through the plateau is to investigate it. Ask yourself, what would happen if I made twice this amount? Let yourself answer honestly, without censoring. Often, fears will emerge. I'd have to pay more taxes, and taxes feel like theft. I'd attract people who want my money. I'd have to hire people, and I'm afraid of managing others. I'd become a target for judgment or criticism. I'd have to change my lifestyle, and I like where I am. These fears are the ceiling. These beliefs are the block. And they're running beneath your conscious awareness, quietly ensuring you don't exceed the limit. Once you identify the fear or belief, you can work with it. Question whether it's absolutely true. Find evidence that contradicts it. Look for examples of people who've exceeded that level without the feared outcome. Choose a new belief that allows for expansion without threat. Install it through repetition. Embody it through practice. And watch the plateau dissolve as your frequency shifts to accommodate the next level. Maya hit a plateau at $10,000 a month in her business. For a year, no matter what she did, she hovered around that number. Some months a bit less, some months a bit more, but always averaging out to about $10,000. She was frustrated because she knew she was capable of more. She was working with quantum principles. She'd seen major growth from where she'd been. But now she was stuck. Then Maya did the investigation. She asked herself, what would happen if I made $20,000 a month? Immediately, an answer came. I'd feel guilty. My family struggles with money and I'd be showing off. I'd feel separate from them. I'd be judging them by succeeding where they haven't. There it was, the hidden ceiling. Maya had unconsciously limited herself to a level that didn't threaten her family identity or trigger guilt about having more than her parents and siblings. Once Maya saw this clearly, she could address it. She realized she could be financially successful and still love her family. She could have wealth and still support them. She could achieve more and still belong. She didn't have to stay small to stay connected. This belief shift was the key. Within 2 months of identifying and releasing this block, Maya's income jumped to $18,000 a month. Within 4 months, she was consistently over $25,000. The plateau was broken because the underlying frequency ceiling was removed. Are you at a plateau? If so, what hidden fear or belief is creating the ceiling? What would happen if you exceeded your current level? What makes that unsafe, uncomfortable, or threatening? Answer these questions with brutal honesty. The plateau is your teacher. It's showing you exactly what needs to be healed next. Don't resent it. Use it. Let it reveal the hidden blocks so you can clear them and continue your expansion. We need to talk about the dark night of the financial soul. This is a phase that can happen during quantum wealth transformation. You're shifting your frequency, releasing old patterns, installing new beliefs. And sometimes, right before the breakthrough, everything seems to fall apart. You might lose income sources, face unexpected expenses, experience setbacks that feel like proof this isn't working. This phase is disorienting, terrifying, and tests your commitment to the quantum path like nothing else. But here's what's actually happening. The old frequency is dissolving completely so the new frequency can fully install. The structures built on scarcity consciousness are crumbling, so structures built on abundance consciousness can form. The quantum field is clearing out everything that doesn't match your new vibration, so it can deliver everything that does. It looks like destruction. It feels like failure. But it's actually preparation for quantum leap. It's the darkness before the dawn. It's the death before the rebirth. The key during this phase is to not collapse back into old frequencies. Don't let the appearance of failure convince you to abandon your new consciousness. Don't let the temporary chaos make you doubt quantum principles. Don't let fear pull you back into scarcity thinking. Hold your frequency through the storm. Trust the process even when it looks terrible. Know that this is part of the transformation, not evidence against it. The dissolution is necessary for the new creation to emerge. This is where faith becomes essential. Not blind faith, but trust in the quantum field based on understanding how it works. You know that frequency precedes form. You know that internal shifts create external changes. You know that transformation often requires destruction of the old before construction of the new. You know this intellectually. Now you're being asked to trust it experientially, to hold your abundance frequency even when everything looks scarce, to maintain your wealth consciousness even when you're facing financial crisis. This is the ultimate test, and passing it leads to the ultimate breakthrough. Not everyone goes through a dark night phase, but many do, especially those making dramatic frequency shifts. If it happens to you, recognize it for what it is: a purge, a clearing, a reorganization. Don't make it mean you're failing or doing something wrong. It means you're transforming so completely that the old reality can't coexist with the new frequency. The old is being dismantled. The new is being prepared. Hold steady. Keep your frequency aligned with abundance. Continue your practices. Trust the quantum field. And wait for the dawn. It's coming. It always does. And what emerges on the other side will exceed what you've been visualizing. Finally, let's talk about your new identity as someone whose quantum wallet is unlocked. Because all of this work, all of these practices, all of these principles, they're ultimately about becoming a different person. Not better, not more worthy, but different in consciousness, different in frequency, different in how you relate to money, wealth, and abundance. You're shedding the identity of someone who struggles with money. You're stepping into the identity of someone who flows with wealth. This identity shift is the foundation of permanent transformation. Who are you becoming? You're becoming someone who trusts infinite supply, someone who operates from overflow instead of depletion, someone who creates value and allows abundance to flow in return, someone who makes decisions from abundance instead of scarcity, someone who sees money as energy instead of scarce resource, someone who knows their worth instead of constantly questioning it, someone who receives as easily as they give, someone who expects quantum leaps instead of linear growth, someone who holds their frequency regardless of circumstances, someone whose quantum wallet stays permanently unlocked. This new identity doesn't happen overnight. You grow into it through daily practice, consistent choice, and repeated embodiment. Every time you shift your frequency, you strengthen this identity. Every time you choose abundance over scarcity, you become this person more fully. Every time you trust the quantum field, you install this consciousness more deeply. You're not forcing it. You're allowing it. You're not becoming someone else. You're becoming more fully who you actually are beneath all the conditioning and programming. And as this new identity solidifies, your external reality must match it. It has no choice. The quantum field always mirrors your consciousness. When your consciousness is firmly rooted in abundance, your circumstances will reflect abundance. When your identity is wealthy, your bank account will eventually match. When your frequency is overflow, your life will demonstrate overflow. This is law. This is how quantum reality works. Be the frequency, and the form follows. Become the identity, and the evidence appears. So who are you now? Not who you've been. Not who you're trying to become. Who are you right now, in this moment, as you integrate everything you've learned? Are you someone whose quantum wallet is locked or unlocked? Are you someone who struggles with money or flows with it? Are you someone who operates from scarcity or abundance? You get to choose. Right now. This moment. This choice. It doesn't require perfection. It just requires decision. Decide who you are. Then be that person. Then let reality catch up to match the truth of who you've become. Your quantum wallet is unlocked. Your frequency is abundance. Your consciousness is wealth. Your identity is overflow. This is who you are. This is what you're claiming. This is the reality you're collapsing into form. The journey doesn't end here. It continues as you deepen into this truth, as you embody it more fully, as you let it transform every aspect of your financial reality. But the foundation is set. The frequency is established. The quantum broadcast is clear. You are abundance. You are wealth. You are the infinite supply in human form. And your life is about to reflect that truth in ways you can't even imagine yet. Welcome to quantum wealth. Welcome to your unlocked wallet. Welcome home to abundance. This is only the beginning.